Hoka Hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of October the 14th, 2022. Just how badass is Alita anyway? Where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gumu, and the greatly desired sequels. How you like that, Maxie? Yeah. And good to be here today. And I guess we got from Fountain, Colorado, we have Lee. How's it going, Lee?
Pretty good.
And from Mentor, Ohio, we have Chaos Nova.
Hello.
And from near Sydney in New South Wales, Australia, we have Maxie.
God, it sounds like you've almost been here. You're that good at it.
I've been doing this now for a couple of years almost. So I'm hopefully I'm getting a little better at this.
No, it's all the little details like New South Wales, Australia. It's like it's not just like Australia. It's like just that place down there with all the spiders. No.
Well, I could have said Straya, but
Straya.
I guess whatever, So what's happening, guys? Anything new to report?
Well, a few things. Showcase next Monday after this weekend. So Monday I'm blanking, forgetting this one. Monday the 17th, yes, is the next showcase episode. And I'm trying to get another section of Gun Mushroom Memory out, but I'm only going to be here for a little while before I do some writing and prepare for tomorrow, which is after the podcast that's starting at 7 with Vampire Hunter D. So
Nice.
So it won't conflict with the Saturday broadcast.
Oh, that's good.
So you guys can just jump from the Saturday broadcast to that hangout.
Cool. All right. So we'll be on the lookout for that showcase on Monday then. That'll be, or if you're in the future, Tuesday.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. Thanks for that, Chaos. Looking forward to it. Lee, down there in Fountain, I guess you guys are probably, the weather's cooling off down there, kind of like it is here, I guess, in Littleton, Colorado.
A little bit. Still pretty sunny and warm for the most part.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually, I think the temperature is perfect. I don't really, I'm actually a native Floridian. I'm not a Coloradan, but I'm a native Floridian that does not like heat. So anyway, which is kind of a screwy thing, I suppose.
It's fine. You'd probably be okay with Arizona and like Arizona State where I was at. I mean, I sweat, but it's fine. I think you just need to drink quite a bit, though.
Yeah, well, you have to drink quite a bit here too, because of the, it's not just the altitude, but the, kind of the dryness. The humidity. I think if it gets over like 30% or say 40% humidity, the locals start, saying it's humid, which it's not. Down in Florida, it's got to be like 90%, before it gets humid down there. So anyway, and I bet it's the same thing as Straya, isn't it there, Maxie? I guess you guys have is it humid where you are since you're near the water, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'm about a 15-minute drive from the beach, but it's kind of weird. We're having weird seasons at the moment. Like, we had so much rain lately, it's just crazy. And we had a bit of weather yesterday afternoon, which was Friday over, which you're in the middle of right now. But it felt like summer had just rocked up out of the blue, because we've been having all these overcast, rainy days, and then suddenly the sun came out. It was like belting hot. In comparison, it was like getting up in the high 20s. That's in Celsius, and then this overnight it cooled right off again. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, like the weather's been weird. It hasn't been humid at all, but I'm just waiting for the humidity to hit, because it will. And then we'll be sweating it up with I grew up in inland, like 3.5 hours away from the coast. So I'm used to dry heat. So this humidity doesn't do me any good at all. But my missus grew up, about this distance from the coast where she grew up. So she's used to the humidity. So we're sort of chalk and cheese on that one.
Well, I think here in Colorado, we have dry heat here also, but I had a friend many years ago that was moving from they said they were moving from Colorado to Florida because they didn't like the heat. I said, wow, yeah, you're not making the right move if you're trying to get away from heat. So, but anyway, it gets a dry heat here too. And I think we had some pretty warm weather here in the early part of last week. And then it started cooling off, I guess, last weekend a little bit. And it's now we're getting in the low 40s and upper 30s, and that'd be Fahrenheit, which would probably be about 5 degrees Celsius, I guess, somewhere in 5 or 10 degrees Celsius, let's say, somewhere in that at night. And it gets up around upper 60s or 70 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, so. And I think, Lee, you're a little higher up than we are, aren't you? You're above 5280, aren't you?
I'm not sure offhand. I was actually under the impression we were lower than Denver.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, anyway, but you're still up there. I think you're, basically, you're not like at sea level. You're like. Oh
yeah, we're still got a good altitude. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah. And I know Chaos there. You're on Lake Erie, so you get some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sometimes weird to not see that banner on your TV screen saying tornado risk. It was in Missouri and Kansas.
Yeah. Well, I think Tornado Alley.
It's just where most of them happen, but there still is technically a risk here, everywhere. But you would literally, on the screen when you're in Kansas or Missouri or the Midwest in general, I believe, you'll have a banner floating on your TV screen saying tornado risk, thunderstorm warning.
Yeah. Well, like Kansas, Oklahoma, like you say, Missouri, but Tornado Alley, I guess, does touch Ohio. I mean, and it goes down the Ohio Valley, I guess, into the middle America, So I think most of those tornadoes, though, are like in Oklahoma and Kansas. They're not. You don't get near as many as they do down there. I guess. I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist.
I mean, it can happen. I mean, there was. I've been reading about what happened in Mentor, and there was a tornado that was like years ago.
Yeah.
that tore through the lake and churned up a bunch of water and made fish fall out of the sky. But yeah, it's not very common.
Yeah, David Alexandra says, hey, Alita Battle Angel is going to be 4 years old, coming up on February 2023, and we must continue to fight. In other words, we need to renew our push, I guess. So maybe that's something we could think about too. Talk about a little bit here, about what we might do. That's still about 4 or 5 months away, but certainly doesn't hurt to plan ahead, as they would say. So for sure. Okay, so anyway, before we get into just how badass Alita is, I just want to kind of remind folks, I think we added 29 signatures from last stream, which is kind of a pretty slow, I think. That's about 4 signatures a day on average. So that's maybe something we could push some more again. I think it was, I don't know about doing another, like another ad in the LA Times this soon, because it's, for one thing, it's kind of expensive, and the Alita Army really did some, it was really, I guess you would say, philanthropic, I guess you could call it, And yes, we're going to go into that, Angelus. So I promise. Angelus is at work, I think. So
well, speaking of that too, I mean, I know the video game isn't as much of a sequel, but they have recently had a newer version of the English translation. The previous one was 0.15. This one is 0.17. The previous English translation only went to the point where Hugo died, so it didn't really add much. But I'm going to see how far 0.17 goes. And I live streamed it last week, so whoever dropped by, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I hope one day that they'll No, I've still got those downloads you sent me, Chaos, on my other computer. I just haven't had a chance to mess with it yet. But I really hope, or really wish they would come up with a version of Martian Memory that I could, that's native on the PC. You know what I'm saying?
Here's what they have. PlayStation is coming up with PlayStation Plus, which you're playing video games off an online cloud. They did this to compete with Xbox. And what they're doing right now is you can play PlayStation games on a browser. It has a monthly subscription charge around $15.
Oh, that's
and it's select games. But so far, I mean, I've been trying the Xbox version that works on Google Chrome as a web browser, and it's okay. Yeah. It takes a specific type of controller to interface and play the games off your browser, but it works.
It'd be nice if they had, if they had Martian Memory on Steam. I wish they had that.
Or a PlayStation Plus. I don't know. Yeah. It was a PlayStation game, so why not, I say.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, that's cool. So, be on the lookout for that one, I guess. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was
going to say, I've got something to add before you hit the main topic.
Okay.
What has just become like into my top 5 favorite animes is one that I read the light novels of at the end of last year, and they were so good. And when I found out they were making an anime of it, I just couldn't wait. And it was a feeling akin to seeing Alita Battle Angel in movie form for the first time, watching this anime, finally seeing something that I'd love so much in a different format, making it into live, like animated rather than static images or in the manga or reading about it. And that is Reincarnated as a Sword.
Okay, I was about to ask, what is it?
I'm not sure if I've mentioned this to you before, Creaky, but
I think you did. But
I've tweeted about it. But Reincarnated as a Sword is a great little story where, well, obviously the person's been isekai'd and he's inside a sword rather than wandering around being OP or whatever. But the sword's obviously OP, and the sword the sword can fly around, so it's doing its own thing for a while.
Yeah.
But then he gets stuck in the ground in this forest that saps his mana, so he can't use his telekinesis to get around anymore. He's stuck there. And eventually a little black cat beast girl comes along. She's 12 years old, and she's a slave, and she's being severely mistreated by the slave handlers, and they're being attacked by a double-headed bear. And she pulls the sword out of the ground, and the sword is able to share skills with her, and it's been picking skills up by killing monsters and taking their skills from the crystal that grows inside, the magic crystal. And basically he just OPs her something shocking, and she gets out there and kicks the shit out of this thing. And it's just this sort of buddy anime about a sentient sword and a 12-year-old beast girl who is desperate to evolve because none of her kind of evolved in living memory. And it's really heartwarming and also OP isekai. So it's got everything. It's great. So I highly recommend it.
She's a cat girl.
Yeah.
Cool. That's like Cat Lita, isn't it? I guess it's like Lita in her Imaginos 2.1 body or 2.0 body.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Complete
with a tail and everything, right?
Oh yeah.
Nice. I got to see this.
And there's all this fourth wall breaking humor and all this sort of stuff. Because the guy's from Earth, so he's treating it like a game, and everybody else is treating it like real life. So there's all this humor for the viewer that the people in the world are like, what?
Yeah, a la Deadpool, right?
Yeah. Actually, it reminds me a bit. Well, Deadpool without swearing. Although there's a bit of swearing. There's a bit of swearing, actually.
Well, that's nice. I love swearing. I've been known to do it a few times myself. So let's see, Chaos. You see, you've got a.
Yeah, I have the link for PlayStation Plus. I'm going to find it on Twitter too. I know they're on Twitter too, but I don't know. Maybe there's some way to ask him about what it would take to get some older games like God of Martian Memory added. I don't know. It's probably even it's Yukito Productions. I'm not sure who has the rights. It might actually be 20th Century Disney. I'm not sure.
Cool. Well, I just put it in the chat, so if anybody wants to check it out, I think it'll let, because I remember last week I tried putting things. Yeah. So if you want to play it, you know, there's the link, as they would say. So, all right. So cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out, Maxie. If it's got a cat girl in it, I got to see it. So, what streaming service is it on? Is it on?
It's on High Dive at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But I did actually find a Yoho host site that was actually hosting it a week ahead. They must be pulling it off TV in Japan with English subtitles. So I was kind of impressed. That's Friend going up against the guy who tests people for the guild. His name's Donadrond. He's an ogre. And she hasn't even got armor at that point. She's just running around in the sack that she wears when she was a slave. But she gets all these skills from the sword, so she's just like super OP.
Can you do the old? Can you do the old plus control plus on it? Let's see, a little bit bigger.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. No, it's big, but I just kind of, yeah, that's good. Nice. Yeah, she kind of looks like Alita, I guess, a little bit. From that shot, it probably didn't look like her in frontal shot, but got that short black hair, I guess. So,
yeah, there's plenty of pictures of her if you Google it.
Yeah, they always make those little anime girls cute, don't they?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I've read the novels and they're really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, highly recommend that one.
Nice.
I think it's going to be the first anime that I've bought the solid media for in a long time. I'm hopeful that they get around to doing a dub as well. I hope it's one of those ones that High Dive generally does dub most of their what do they call them? Exclusive animes.
Okay. And that's highdive.com, I guess. It'd be HIGH.
Yeah. HIDIVE.
HIDIVE. Okay.
Yeah.
Like high dive. So anyway, very bad joke. So okay, guys. I guess we'll check that one out too, I guess. So
that's that one. Yeah, it's really good. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it'd be neat if they did something like that for Alita. Is one of the things we got coming up, you know, when they finally greenlight things and things are moving along and stuff like that. To see a real, I mean, I did enjoy. We had you remember during Alita week, we had a watch party on that Wednesday night before Alita Day, you know, and we watched the anime, you know, and it's good. I mean, I enjoyed the heck out of it, but it's so 90s. So, you know, and a lot of it's recognizable from the movie, of course, but yeah, it's definitely could definitely use a little bit of a upgrade, I guess. What's the StreamYard link you got in here, Chaos? I think you're muted.
I think that's the StreamYard link for his Vampire Hunter D hangout after tomorrow's podcast.
Oh, okay. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. I'll put that down as.
But don't go to it now. That's for tomorrow.
Yeah, you don't want to go to it now. I'll put that in the chat. So tomorrow you can, if you want to hang out with Chaos, you know, there's the link right there. So. Okay, guys, I guess we can go ahead and get into the main topic. And what we're going to do here, we're going to go very briefly over these because you guys have seen this slide 1,000 times and or a version of it. But we're going to talk about Alita, how just, how badass she is in not just her doll body, but her berserker body and in her Imaginos body. And we could even throw in the tuned body. I don't have any slides on that, but we can certainly discuss that, But as you can see, Alita in her doll body, she's a cyborg. I started to put superhuman strength, and I think she probably is stronger than humans, but really superhuman strength, I think, is going to be like orders of magnitude greater than humans, not just stronger than humans. Okay, now she in a doll body, she may be an order of magnitude stronger than humans, but we don't really have anything to go on except that one, I guess it was a segment there where she did a flying sidekick it was actually not, it was a segment that she had 2 flying sidekicks, or 3 of them actually, where she, went through the air about 30 feet to take out, to kick Romo. And of course she did 2 flying sidekicks on Nisiana. One when Nisiana was jumping toward her, thinking she was going to slash her with the blades. And of course, Alita met her in midair. And then she kind of did a double flying sidekick that decapitated her. So that's pretty badass right there. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So that's the only thing I can think of in her doll body where she does have what you might consider superhuman strength. Now being a cyborg and being made of the materials that she is, yeah, she's going to be stronger than humans. That's for sure. And if she punches you, she may not have that Herzaheon like she has in her berserker body or her Imaginos body, but I guarantee if she punches you with that punch, there's going to be some broken bones in your body for sure. And if she hits you in the sternum, she's going to probably crack your sternum and probably, stop your heart is what it's going to do, because she's pretty strong in this body. She's faster than humans, but I wouldn't say she's faster than all humans. She might be. I don't know, but let's say, for instance, could she outrun Usain Bolt? I don't know about that. Now granted, she's a fictitious character. We know this, but, my sense is probably Usain Bolt would be faster than Alita in her doll body. I could be wrong about that. Since she is a machine mostly, or 98% machine, or what is it, Maxie, 95 or 97, whatever it is.
It's up there.
Yeah, it is. She does have, reflexes that are faster than humans, and it's not on the order of microseconds or milliseconds like it is in her berserker body, but it's extremely fast, because there's that one scene where she grabs Zapan's throat and rams his head on that table. For that technique to work, you got to be really fast, and if you're slow, somebody's going to be able to get out of that, so she's very fast. And being a cyborg, certainly she's got that same stamina. She could run until the leg falls off, and that means probably she could probably run from the, top of from top of North America all the way down to the tip of South America and back many times before she started having problems with her legs falling off. That's just how much stamina she has. She's very old. She does have some nanotech here, but it's not like in her berserker body or Imaginos body. She has that cyber blood, which is a mixture of a lot of things, lubricants and even nano machines. But it's not it's not the same kind of nanotech that they had on the berserker body where she could heal rapidly, like that. But she does have some nanotechnology in her, and it is advanced. Remember, it is at the very least, it's 23rd century nanotech. And of course, with whatever Ito gave her, I guess, in Iron City when he put her back together, that's the 26th century. So she's got some pretty advanced technology in her cyber blood anyway. She does know Panzerkunst. And that last bullet, the Creek really likes this about his niece. She definitely, if she wants to do something, she's going to do it. It's not like, well, I think I can do it. Maybe I can do it. No, she's going to do it. So you know. Yeah, Just a Fan says, not sure about that stamina extends that far, Creaky. You might be right about that, Just a Fan. Yeah, metal, she does have a human brain, so the mental fatigue would get her probably. Plus, there would be also her body parts themselves. Maybe some of the gears, and some of the stuff in there might start wearing out if she started running back and forth across 3 continents, before she would stop. So you're probably right about that, Just Fan. Any thoughts about Alita and her doll body, guys?
Well, I was thinking. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Cass.
No, it's like it's a symbol of maturing out of something, like a childhood or a initiation of some kind. Eventually, it breaks because it's not meant to be used beyond a point. There's maturity, and when you mature beyond a point, you don't need it.
Yeah, any machine that are made by humans is gonna break down eventually. I mean,
That's true.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who makes it and how far in the future it's going to be made. Now, in her case, when she gets the Imaginos body, particularly, who knows how long that thing will work? As long as those berserker cells are, functioning. I mean, God, she could live thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of years. Because remember, in that body, she has a chip for a brain. She doesn't have any organic parts, so there's none of that stuff's going to wear down, Now, her machine parts might start wearing down, but I think in that Imaginos body, it's probably got some extraordinary, self-repair or something like that associated with it. We're going to get to that in a little bit, I guess. Lee, was you going to say something?
You're jumping ahead.
Yeah, I am jumping ahead. Lee, were you going to say something? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just trying to think of something to say, but I figured you covered it pretty good.
Okay.
I got something. I got something. So we need to remember that this body was not made for Alita from Mars. It was made for Alita from Earth. Now, because she had been disabled for quite a while, I expect that the specs on this body were pretty much human norm, or maybe just slightly above human norm, so that she'd be able to deal with it. Yeah. Whereas Yoko / Alita has been in a cyborg body as long as she can remember, so she's a natural at controlling it. Yeah. Alita Ido would not have that experience, and therefore she would not be able to handle a high-spec body in her first embodiment into a cyborg body. So she would be I think that Ido would be aware enough of his daughter's needs that he wouldn't make her too high spec. So I would say that the body that Alita finds herself in when she wakes up on Earth for the first time is not as high spec as she's used to. Yeah. And even though she does pretty well in the fight in the alley, it's nothing like a berserker body, which her full training is meant to take advantage of. So the doll body, to my mind, is far lower spec than pretty much any other body that she uses in the movie, certainly.
Well, I think Ito was also constrained by the parts and the technology and all that he could muster there in Iron City, probably. So that's probably another reason it's not up to spec, like she's used to.
That's true, but I mean, the guy's a genius cyberdoc. So. And he made that body with all the best stuff that he could get hold of, and he put a lot of love and attention into it. You can tell just by the way it's decorated. Yeah. So it's a good body. It's way better than the one that Hugo ended up in after having his head lopped off near the end of the movie. So it's streets ahead of that body, but still it's nothing like a berserker body.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my take.
Okay. Anything, Lee or Chaos, y'all can think of? Did you come up with anything there while going over that?
No, not really.
Yeah. Well, it's been a nice time, but like I said earlier, it's just something that's symbolically a type of youth or childhood that gets matured out of.
Yes.
I'm headed out.
She
Busy,
does
but
go through an evolution, doesn't she?
she
In the
does.
movie. Yeah. Yes, she does. Okay. So anyway, now the Berserker body, and this is I guess we lost Chaos. Well, he said he could only stay a little while anyway. So anyway, in her Berserker body, she is still a cyborg, but in this body, she's superhuman. I mean, she has strength, that's order or probably orders of magnitude stronger than humans. She does have that rapid self-healing, which, is going to kind of add to that durability. I mean, she was durable in the other body, but this one, with self-healing like this, it's several quantum leaps above the doll body.
Yeah,
And
durability is probably orders of magnitude higher, just like her strength is orders of magnitude higher.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And her speed, we said she's probably faster than most humans, and you could tell how fast she ran, to do that flying sidekick on Romo. You'd have to be pretty fast to jump 30 feet in the air. But in this body, in the factory alone, she was her average velocity in the factory was about 125 miles an hour. But that was with her turning and jumping and leaping and stuff like that, swinging the Damascus blade. And, in the manga, she, in that Berserker body, she can move to speeds up to Mach 6.8. That's nearly 7 times the speed of sound, which is probably roughly about 8,000 kilometers an hour. Isn't it, Maxie? Something like that.
It's bonkers. It's just too bloody
it's
fast.
crazy. It's crazy fast,
Traveling
And
at that speed on the ground, you are going to create a huge amount of friction on your feet. And you're also not going to be able to dodge anything. So you're just going to go through walls.
Well, I think that kind of speaks to her next one. And it probably in that Maginot body, we got a similar thing. She has reflexes that, if she's fast enough to deflect a bullet, which, assuming that first bullet that was fired at her by a Centurion that was 30 feet away, I calculated that her reflexes were between 5 and 10 milliseconds. That's pretty freaking fast right there. So if she's running very fast, her reflexes are probably fast enough for her to dodge stuff. Because you're right, if she doesn't have really fast reflexes, she's going to be running into walls. She's going to be running into trees and stuff like that.
It's fine to have fast enough reflexes to spot the thing and intend to dodge it, but the conservation of angular momentum will not allow her to dodge, because the amount of energy you're going to need to change course at that speed and the amount of angle that you can change your course at that speed is probably not enough to dodge things.
Yeah.
It's a case of, once you're going that fast, your body mass increases based on your speed. So it's really hard to change course.
Yeah, I agree.
She'll put her foot down on the ground to change course, and it'll just tear the ground up. She won't be able to get any purchase because her mass will be so much.
Well, I guess it's like when you're driving a car and you hit the brakes real hard, you don't stop immediately. You skid for depending on how fast you are.
Well, it's more that if you're doing 200 mile an hour and you go to turn, you can't turn very fast without rolling. You've got to turn a little bit. So you can't dodge around.
So you got a really wide radius when you turn and going 200 miles an hour. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
So I guess this is a good thing. This is fiction, isn't it?
The conservation of angular momentum is a bitch.
Yeah,
that way. It will screw you up big time.
Yeah, it will. So anyway, and like in the doll body, except I think on this one, she's going to have even greater stamina, because you remember we talked about how she could really run a long way before her legs fall off. Well, probably what would happen with this body, if she was running a long way and maybe one of her legs started to, kind of its, I guess, structural integrity, if you want to think of it, started degrading or something like that. the nano machines would probably start repairing it immediately, you know. Now that doesn't mean she can run forever, obviously. I mean, she, you know, everybody's going to run as far as they can run, depending on how much energy they have and stuff like that. But, you know, she's going to have much greater stamina, I think, in this body than she is in her doll body, just because of those nano machines being able to repair things for her, you know. So, but anyway, you know, she's going to have that stamina. Of course, she's still over 300 years old. And in this case, the advanced nanotech in her is not just in her cyber blood, but it's going to do a lot of other system repair and other functions that just the cyber blood alone is not going to do. And of course, any self-repair that her body has, it's going to be subconscious. She doesn't have to think about repairing it. It's going to do it automatically for her. And of course, in this body right here, she's got that plasma weapon, which is really next level. You know, she certainly split Gorishka in half with that plasma weapon. And the thing about this plasma weapon is she doesn't really need the sword to do this. You know, she can use just her hand, because if you look at her left hand, you see a little bluish tint to it, can't you? Well, that plasma is coming out of her hand too, which means even if she doesn't have the sword and she punches you and that plasma is enveloping your hand, you're fried, basically. You know, you're not you're not going to survive a punch from her if she, particularly, well, you're probably not going to survive a serious punch from her, even if she doesn't have the plasma activated. If she has that plasma activated, you're going to get the double whammy, is what you're going to get. You know, you're going to get the force of the punch, plus what she can deliver with the Hertz of Hayon and the plasma. So, I mean, you're not going to survive it, you know, if she hits you.
I think either Hertz of Hayon or plasma would be enough for most people. A double whammy would be just too much.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think any human being could withstand it, and probably not many cyborgs can withstand it, you know. So, and like we've said before, Alita's not a superhero, but she does have superhero level ability. Certainly knowing that Panzerkunst, which is certainly a martial art for cyborgs, I guess, that they would use to fight other cyborgs and androids. So it's most effective at that. But if it's effective against a cyborg, it is certainly going to be effective against a human, you know, because of the amount of force and the kind of damage she can do, you know, just the fact that she's a cyborg and her body is a machine, you know, that's it's like you getting hit with a baseball bat, let's say, or one of those steel bats, you know, or aluminum bats, versus being punched by somebody with their fist. You know, it's going to be something similar to that. And since this is our girl, she is still going to have the same level of determination that she has in her doll body. So now she just has the tools, you know, to make that meeting those objectives even more easy to achieve, you know. So any thought about her in that berserker body, guys? Yeah. Yep, that's right.
I could just see her, you know, getting up to about 3/4 of her top speed and her clothes disintegrating, because I couldn't take this friction.
Yeah, well, that's right. Because yeah, I mean, well, particularly if she's running at supersonic speed, if she's starting to approach, well, Mach 7, that's not orbital velocity, but it's getting up there, and air friction after a while is probably going to burn her clothes off, you know. Now, she wouldn't have to worry about that, like, say, oh, look at Just Fan there. He's got a kinetic energy equation there in the chat. You see it there, Maxie? Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. That's right, Just Fan, for sure, you know. Yeah, but if she burned all her clothes off, they wouldn't get her for indecent exposure because she's a cyborg. So there.
Well, it wouldn't just be her clothes; it would be the skin on the top part of her body, and her hair would probably.
Yeah, her hair might. Well. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because her hair even though it's synthetic, it's still real hair, isn't it? I mean, and probably her skin is probably grown, but but it's real skin. Just, it's been grown some other way, I guess, not on a human. I would.
Well, it
imagine.
appears to be a synthetic because when Ito finds her in the scrapyard, there's some tears in it, and there's no indication of any kind of blood or anything coming from it.
Well, that's a good point. So maybe her skin is not. It's not human skin then. It'd be more of a maybe. I don't know.
You could say that, but then you could also say that because her body was ripped in half and it was just the top part of her torso, maybe her heart's blood that was providing blood to that part, that skin had been shut off, and the skin had just died, like it wasn't growing anymore, but it was just sitting there, sort of like zombie skin.
Seems like to me it'd be grayish though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they've easily got the technology to create a synthetic skin that can mimic real skin. And if she's going to be in combat, you're not going to want her to have a flesh and blood exterior that can get damaged like that.
Yeah, I guess that's right, because it's kind of like the Creek has said in the past that I know Maxie disagrees with. I think Alita is in the same universe, but in a different timeline than the Terminators. So, I don't care about props in the beginning. I think it's all the same. So anyway, that's my take. But anyway, but I think you're probably right. If it's real skin, they do have the technology to make it better. But if it's synthetic skin, that might make it better for combat purposes. So yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I do know that in the novelization, actually the prequel novel, they were talking about a synthetic skin that Sheeran had developed, and Ito wanted to be paid in it because it was better than any of the stuff he had, and he wanted it for his patients.
Ah. Yeah, I might have to read that after I get through reading Lee's fanfic. So can't take on more than one thing at a time here, as they would say. So, okay. Any other thoughts about Berserker Alita? Here's the body that the Creek likes and wants to see in a sequel. Maybe in that third movie that the Creek is going to get.
What about the motorball body and the one that she has?
Well, we can certainly talk about it, but the motorball body is not built for combat. It's built for sports, like motorball, but
it's a combat sport. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but it's still not like her. I think it's not as potent or powerful as a Berserker body. Now, it is probably more potent than the doll body. So
you're just going for the OP stuff.
Yeah, I am.
I know you.
Yeah. So anyway, with Alita and her Imaginos body, she's not a cyborg anymore. She's an android. She's superhuman for sure. And the strength in this body is orders of magnitude, probably many orders of magnitude greater than the Berserker body, because it's connected to the black hole, So she has that power behind it. She's also connected to Arthur or Melchizedek. Arthur is the physical manifestation that comes out of it. It's kind of like a hologram, isn't it, Maxie, or something like that? Or it could be like a holodeck thing, like on Star Trek, I guess, is what Arthur is. And I can't remember the name of the computer where Zeus, comes out of. I'm not sure about that one. I can't remember, but she's connected to 2 super quantum computers, and she has a brain chip that probably does calculations faster than certainly anything we have on any computer today. So she's got some pretty far out computing power behind her on that one.
I don't think she was ever connected to Zeus directly like she is to Melchizedek. The Fata Morgana gave her the ability to Wi-Fi to Melchizedek and get the information and the computing power that she needed for all sorts of things. But what the Jupiter Union ended up providing her, not not intentionally to start with, was the power of a singularity. So, I mean, we might think that the fusion heart that she has in the movie is pretty damn powerful. When, you know, oh, this could run the whole city for hundreds of years, righty, yeah, great. The power of a singularity, yeah, I think that wins like a lot. So,
well, yeah, it does. I mean, that's Superman level power right there. By the way, Angelus is asking me if I've read MC8. I don't even know what MC8. Oh, the Volume 8 of Mars Chronicle. Yeah, that's right. No, I haven't, Angelus, and I know it's a heresy. I know that. Blasphemy even. So, but I am going to get to it, you know, that's for sure. And of course, you know, she has the same basic self-healing that she has in the Berserker body, maybe faster in this body. I'm not sure. Cause you know, when she was fighting Toji, she got obliterated and then reassembled real fast, you know? So, so, you know, I guess that part of it is much better, I guess. She can move at relativistic speed, you know, which is, oh God, millions of times faster than she can run in the Berserker body. Now we've argued whether or not that's canon or not, because it was basically in one of those side stories. She doesn't run at relativistic speed during the Zod or any of that I can remember, you know.
It was in the alternate ending.
Yeah, it was. That's right. That's right. So, but since and the Creek has always said that since Kashiro wrote it, the Creek's going to go with it, because the Creek wants all that OP stuff for his niece. So anyway, but she be that as it may, she's fast as hell. You know, I mean, I wouldn't want her chasing me if she's mad at you. You know, no, you don't.
You wouldn't know anything about it. You just go and you do.
Yeah, it'd just be nothingness. 1 second you'd be looking at stuff, and the next second nothingness. That's what it would be. Yeah,
basically.
She has
red shifting in a corridor. Like the corridor would have to be awfully long. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right. Her reflexes here are crazy, insanely faster than the Berserker body. Now, we don't get a sense for that. You know, they don't really address that in the manga or anything like this. But if she does run at these super high speeds like that, and of course we can talk about the conservation of momentum again, Maxie, if you want, but she is going to have all of that going for her if she wants to dodge stuff, because if she doesn't, she's going to run right through stuff, you know. So, you know, that's, you know, but anyway, it's a good thing she's a fictional character, isn't she? So, yeah, or else this stuff wouldn't be practical. Certainly got stamina, you know, probably better than the Berserker body, same age. And of course, nanotech, you know, she still has that. Matter of fact, I think her whole body is made up of Berserker cells, isn't it, Maxie? Or Lee?
Berserker cells, they're imaginal cells, which
imaginal cells, that's right.
It's basically something that Destiny Nova reverse engineered from Berserker cells. So basically it's like the new upgraded Berserker cell. And it would appear to me that the limitations on that body is basically, if you've got enough juice, enough power, you can practically become anything. The sky's the limit. And once she gets connected to the singularity power source, that's when, you know, like she basically becomes a demigod, and can just change her form at will and is unstoppable, you know. Well,
she is a shapeshifter. I meant to put that in here because we brought that up last week. So she can shapeshift too, you know. So
go ahead, Lee. Say real quick, I'm afraid I'm going to have to head off because I've got to go take somebody to work.
Okay. No problem. Well, we're glad you could stop by anyway, Lee.
Oh, me too. It's nice to hang with you guys for a bit.
You betcha.
Yeah. You guys have fun.
All right. We'll talk to you later. And of course, she's got that same, she's got better nanotech now since she's got the Imagino cells. So her nanotech is even more advanced than the Berserker cells, which is incredible. And certainly the self-modification process is still subconscious. She doesn't have to think about it. You know, she doesn't have to be cognitively tuned into it to make it happen. It just happens, you know. She can not just manipulate plasma. She can damn near manipulate anything, it seems like, you know, since she is a shapeshifter. She still knows Panzer Kunst, that part of it when she became an android with a brain chip, you know, all those memories were put in her brain chip, you know, so she still knows Panzer Kunst. And I guess we'd had this discussion last week too. Her very essence, her very consciousness, I guess, was also downloaded into that brain chip, wasn't it? So she's going to be the same person. And, you know, we've had discussions whether or not she's human in this body. I mean, I guess technically you would say no, she's not human, she's android, but the Creek likes to think that since she still has those human qualities of spirit and stuff like that, you know, I think she's human. I mean, I think she's very human.
I think it kind of comes down to, do you believe you're human? I mean, how can you tell you're not human? I mean, obviously, you know, cut your head open and have a look and see if there's a brain chip or not. It's going to be a small problem if there isn't, because your brain doesn't react well to being open to the air. But basically, if it quacks like a human and walks like a human and does stuff like a human, isn't it a human? I mean, how do you tell it from a human? Yeah. So I mean, I think being a human, her consciousness comes from a human because she was human, and it's like a backup. So it's sort of like she's still a human. She's just not running on the same hardware or software or wetware or whatever the hell you want to call it than she was before.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I think I just put the wrong. I did. Disregard that last. That's chaos. This is the one you want to. If you want to jump on the stream and talk to us, go with that second one I just put in there. There it is.
You're still pasting the same thing. All three of them are the same.
Wait a minute. I did a copy on it. No, that's right. That's the right one. I just pasted.
Well, you've pasted the right link 3 times. Then there you go.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway,
people come join us.
Yeah, well, we're chaotic here, just like we are on Saturdays. It's
Creaky's spamming the link. Come on, he's desperate. Get in here and talk to him.
Oh no, that's okay if you want. That's fine, you know.
Yeah,
but I would say that at the very least, Alita's humanoid. You know, I mean, certainly she appears human, and she does identify with humans. Yeah, Angelus, crikey. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I think in her Imaginos body, she is human. Now, Maxie brought up the motorball body a while ago, and of course I brought up the Toon body. Oh, here's Just a Fan. Hello, Just a Fan.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
All right, everything's working for once.
All right. Yeah, you had trouble with your mic last time, I think, didn't you, or something like that?
Yeah, I couldn't even begin to tell you what was going wrong. I think it was just one of those days, and the computers decided to just have it out for me, I guess. So needless to say, I'm a little apprehensive with Alita the android.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a tough pill to swallow, you know, but yeah, she definitely has a brain chip here. She doesn't have a human brain anymore. You remember the baby bomb?
Yeah,
sure of that. Spoiler.
No, it's really interesting. I mean, just the manga as a whole. How basically it's. I mean, yes, you tell this amazing story, but the kind of overarching theme of the story is exploring that humanity. So,
what does it mean to be human?
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got this at first, you know, it starts out kind of friendly with Alita and slowly but surely works you up and starts kind of stripping away what one might conventionally consider human.
Yep.
All the way up until the point where you get to the brain chips. And it's like, well, but they've still got a human body, so maybe we can make an exception. And then you get all the way even further. And now you've got Alita, who is an android with a brain chip, and in theory, nothing human. But then, like Maxie was saying, if walks like a human, talks like a human, emotes like a human, is she still human?
Yeah,
And
well, like
that's an
she does
interesting dilemma.
Yeah, she does identify with humans. Remember, there was that one thing seen in Last Order. I guess she goes up to Zalem, I guess, and somebody said, "Are you a robot?" or called her a robot or something. She says, "I am not a robot."
Yeah, exactly.
So, but oh yeah, you are actually. But she didn't know that, and she believed she was a human, and plus she does have human memories. That's another thing, and her consciousness is very human. So yes, I certainly think she's still a human, and Finestro has a good point. And Angelus both have this. She's more human than anybody they know. So,
yep, I agree with you.
So anyway, but the Creek really likes his niece in this body because she is badass more than anything. Very OP, as Maxie would say. The Creek likes this OP stuff. So anyway, that's the way it works.
Yep, she's Volt.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So anyway.
I was kind of a little bit disappointed with Kishiro winding it back, but I can understand why he did it.
Well, keeping the story changing and evolving, I guess,
Well, I mean, the whole power slide thing, like the Dragon Ball power slide thing, where they keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and then there's nobody who can challenge them.
Yeah.
It stops the story being interesting, because if there's no longer any challenge, because you're the strongest there is, then what's going to create the drama? So, and also when you consider all of the changes that Alita went through in Last Order, from not using a biological brain anymore, now you're on a chip, and you've got this new funky Imaginos body, which is better than a Berserker body, and now you're connected to the Fata Morgana after you've died once, and you die a second time and end up connected to the to the Zeus's power source, the singularity over in Jupiter. It's like, okay, stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and now she can like destroy satellites and do all sorts of weird, funky shit, and grow wings and interdimensionally beat the snot out of people. And it's like, yeah, cool, that's really cool. Great, OP. Okay, now what? It's like, okay. Well,
I only got one thing to say about that, and that's my girl.
But from a storytelling
problem with Superman, it's like this paradox where, one, you've got the issue, like you say, of nobody left to face, but you've also got this paradox that, at least for me, and I think a lot of people, and that we're seeing now in like the MCU, as it gets more and more involved in like Interstellar, whatever, and
yeah,
it's like you get these power levels where, in a lot of ways, it's like trying to comprehend like a quantity of money or a quantity of things. Like once you exceed a certain quantity, it's like, okay, yeah, that's a lot. But it never becomes beyond that. It's like, okay, she's powerful. Well, once she's powerful, you can exceed that all you want, but like, it's like, oh my goodness, they can destroy a planet. They can this, that, and the other thing. Like once you've gotten beyond like leveling a city, most people's comprehension of that, like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so to try and like, you can keep giving them equal power levels to face, with, in the MCU, it's probably going to be like an Eternal or one of the, I can't remember what they're called now, but they forged the Infinity Stones. It was like, you get to that point and it's like, okay, you got these two big bads and they're going to face each other, and that's that. But you can't like there's no wow factor anymore.
Well, think about what Kishiro was up against when he started writing the Last Order, back in, what was the early 2000s, I think, wasn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Well, you remember superhero movies just started coming out again. I mean, they've been coming out somewhat even through the 90s, a little bit.
Right.
But in the early 2000s, you had the first Spider-Man movies, and a little bit after that, you had Man of Steel and the Avengers and all that. So now he says, well, wait, I'm going to have to do something with Alita if I want to compete,
Yeah.
So he he kind of started powering her up, I guess, as a response. At least that's my feeling about it, you know.
And that's kind of the incredible part too, is like you say, you look at when it came out, and what makes Alita so awesome is Yukito was able to craft a story and craft a character that, while she shares many similarities, you think of like the Marvel and DC comics, he was able to kind of weave his own story and his own character and develop her in such a manner that was basically unique, never really seen before.
Well, that's a good point, because, you know, a lot of the superhero, even today, the roots of all the superhero movies are from the 30s and 40s, you know, in the 50s, because, you know, Superman came out in the 30s, you know, I mean, and Batman in the late 30s or early 40s, you know, and you know, they have all of this, I guess you would say, I guess for lack of a better word, I'll call it ancestry, you know, that they could build on and stuff like that. Whereas Kishiro didn't have that, you know.
He was trying to sort through it. He would have grown up on that.
Yeah.
And then basically he was trying to sort through it and kind of forge his own path. So that's what's really cool. I think that's one of the coolest parts about Alita, is just the story that he was able to craft.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like her appeal and things like that. Like very few superheroes. I mean, you think of like Spider-Man, you think of Wolverine and Superman and all these other, Batman, and you know, they're all able to forge their own iconic paths. Like that doesn't people can, it's like when people say, oh, you know, there's successful people in the world, and they name like 3 or 4 people, and it's like, okay, name one more.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't just happen to anybody. It doesn't just, it's not everyone or everything. Like it's a lot of some unique instances to happen. So in order to do that, the fact that he did that with Alita is truly incredible.
Yes, it is. And, you know, he's a superb writer. And here's the reason why I say that. And Maxie will probably agree with me on this one, is that one thing that writers have a lot of trouble when they get powerful, you know, characters like this, they have a hard time writing them in such a way that there isn't some kind of drama, or there's not some kind of challenge, you know, because they don't know how to deal with that, with the power that particular character has. So they have to artificially put something in, you know, that doesn't make sense. You know,
that's exactly what happened.
Well, a good example of that is like the CW Flash. You know, the Flash is supposed to be able to move at the speed of light, you know, and if he's fighting anybody, he's going to be able to take anybody. But yet in some of those episodes, he'll run up to the person, start talking to him, put his finger in their face. I'm going to put you in jail. And the person punches him.
Right.
No, he's not going to do that. You know,
the person would start to draw back, and he would just accelerate away from them.
Yeah.
Before they could even move their arm fast enough to hit him.
And even in the theatrical release of Justice League, when Steppenwolf grabs the Flash and throws him against the wall, in the comic book, the Flash's reflexes are so fast, you know, his nervous system is so keen that the instant his hand just barely comes within a nanosecond of touching him, he's going to be out of the way, you know, because he's that fast, you know.
Right.
So, and they don't know how to write for something, for a character like that. You know, it's like, well, it's got to be a situation where this person can be killed. Well, not necessarily. If you've got an OP character like Dr. Manhattan as an example, who cannot, in the movie anyway, not the series, that cannot be killed, he can be defeated, you know, I mean, without being killed, you know, I mean, that's for sure, you know. And in the movie that actually happens, you know, no more spoilers on that one in case anybody wants to see The Watchmen. So, but, you know, I just think that writers have a hard time with writing for, you know, super powerful characters like Alita, except Kishiro didn't have that problem. He did a great job, I think, you know, and that's why I know when I read through the manga, I couldn't put it down, you know. It was always something new. So I just loved it, you know, I mean, anyway.
Yeah, I've noticed that with a few things. Like, I mean, this could be a whole new topic about OP characters and how to write them or how to make them make sense, because I've been reading this. Well, I just finished.
Yeah, jot that one down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been well, I say reading, but it's actually listening to a series of light novels called Another World with my smartphone. I think I've mentioned that one to you, Creaky, that I particularly like it. But I just finished volume 26. Yeah, 26. And it's still going. Like they're bringing in the next generation now. But basically, the main character in that turns out to be a demigod, and he's been trained to be a full god by the world god. And just dealing with the amount of abilities that he's just vacuumed up. I need to go into a little bit of depth, but there's in this world with magic, there's 6 different base elemental magics, which is water, fire, earth, wind, light, and dark. Right,
Okay.
so that's the 6. And each the first 4 are pretty obvious. Light is like light and healing spells and stuff like that, and getting rid of undead and stuff like that. And dark is mostly summoning, but there's also curses and stuff, which is ancient magics, which has been basically said, don't do that, it's bad news, don't use that magic. And yeah, jealous. Here's another topic for RadioCast.
Yeah.
But basically, the guy is so OP that like he's in a situation, and I'm going, hang on a second, wouldn't he just do this? Like I've got a spell for that. It's like I've got an app for that. I've got a spell for that. It's just wouldn't he just do that? Wouldn't he just? He's got so many options.
I have to try that one.
It feels like the writer has forgotten some of the options.
Yeah, I remember you bringing that up. Yeah, that story. Yeah,
and
sounds like a series of pitch meetings.
Yeah. But the thing is, the other type of magic's null magic, and it's generally individual magic. Like one person will have one null spell, but if you of a magical race, you can have multiples. But he can do any null spell that he can get the name of, like the activation word, and understand the effect. He can cast it. So he's that powerful. He's got all these null spells. Like there's hundreds of null spells or thousands of null spells that do things that
I want to get those apps. I want those apps.
Yeah. But they're barely useful. Like can make water a little bit warmer, or make water a little bit cooler, or can let you have a little lighter, like flame on the end of your thumb, or just little stupid things. But then there's awesome ones like slip, which basically reduces friction to 0 underneath a target, and he uses that one all the time. That's great. But basically he has so many options that the writer often forgets some of them, and he always explains it away the same way. The guy is based as a human. Like he's a human, and he makes mistakes, and he forgets stuff. Mm-hmm. So he goes, oh God, why didn't I think of that? It's like, well, you had something that could have dealt with that in a much more efficient way, but you forgot you had it because you've got so many options. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, God, I forget all sorts of things.
I want those apps. I want them. By the way, there's a little conversation going on in the chat about Alita, whether her being completely fearless and all that kind of stuff like that. I kind of disagree with that in her doll body or in her berserker body, because I think she does feel fear, but I think she uses it to her advantage, because when she was fighting Makaku in the manga, she was afraid at first. And then there was that panel, and she says, at first I was afraid, but now I'm going to use it to defeat you or kill you or whatever it was, Now in her Imaginos body, I'm sorry, just fan.
Fear is an incredibly good motivator. It can crush you, or it can empower you to do things you never thought you could.
Yeah. Well, I think to their point, to Finestro and Alejandro's point, that she's not fearless in those two bodies, but she uses it. She doesn't let that fear overpower her. She
Right.
uses it to her advantage. So now I think in her Imaginos body, I think she doesn't feel fear. I think she's so, particularly in Imaginos 2.1 body, she is so OP in that body that nothing scares her. So, but I think in those earlier bodies.
How's that saying go? Do not be afraid of the night, become the night.
Yeah, that's right.
You
Yeah,
got it
there's
wrong. You're not locked. I'm not locked in here with you.
You're locked in here with me. I love that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One of my favorite scenes from The Watchmen. Yeah, that's right.
It's a great line.
Yeah, it is. Well, there's also another movie, a pretty old one, called Remo Williams. I don't know if you ever seen that, but there was a scene in that where the I guess the master of this fake martial art called Shinanzu was actually teaching Remo Williams, the art of fighting and all that stuff with Shinanzu. And one of the things they're doing is they're on top of a high-rise building and they're running along the edge. And Remo Williams is scared. He looks down, holy crap, and he's frozen. And the master says, fear cannot kill you. It's like you feel afraid. You feel hot, you feel cold, you feel love, you feel hate, but it doesn't kill you, So I think that's kind of like with Alita, she can translate that fear in her berserker body, say, into a weapon, so she can actually turn it against her opponent, So that's kind of what I feel about that one. So anyway.
Well, I can't remember exactly where it was. It may have been in the novelizations, but there was a comment about Alita, like she couldn't remember all her past, but she could remember that she had conquered fear a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it had gone from being a stumbling block to being a weapon.
Was it fear or pain?
Oh, no, I think it might have been pain, actually. Yeah, no, I got that wrong.
Yeah, I think it was pain, because I remember, well, I never read the novelization. I've listened to it on an audio book going cross country several times. I always listen to that going cross country. It's kind of a neat way to listen to it, I guess. But yeah, I think she conquered pain. But I also think, though, to your point, Maxie, I think she's conquered fear to the point, particularly in a berserker body, to where she can use that as a weapon against her opponent, so it's like she has control of it or something. Now in her Imaginos 2.1 body, she ain't afraid of shit.
Well, I mean, deep down she mightn't be afraid of anything, but you can act afraid to draw somebody in. You don't have to show them everything truthfully. You can use it as a weapon in that you can pretend to be afraid, and then they think they've got it over you, and then you just turn around and go, So,
yeah, we see Vladdy's out in the chat. How's it going, Vladdy? Okay, so anyway, Alita and the Imaginos body. Now, Maxie or Just Fan, did you want to talk about Alita, say, in like the motorball body or the tuned body before we get to the instances of her badassedness?
Well, I think it's worth just mentioning in passing those two bodies. You're right in that the motorball body is a specific usage, like it's not a general usage body. It is built for a sport where limbs get wrecked pretty regularly, and so they've got to be able to be swapped out fairly quick. So it doesn't have quite the structural rigidity of a body where the limbs are meant to stay on the whole time, but also it's built for speed. Well, I mean, her body's built for speed. Not every motorball body's built for speed. Some of them.
Well, her body specifically is built for combat, though. It's not specifically for speed. Like when she goes up against I can't remember her name now.
Oh,
Crimson Wind.
Crimson Wind.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I could not think of that to save my life. But yeah, that's you see the difference between the two bodies. Like Alita's is, she's built for fast fighting. She's not necessarily built for raw speed nor raw power, but a very good combination, like middle ground of the two.
Yeah, I think to Maxie's point, that motorball body she has is optimized between combat and speed. You know, I
Yes,
think it's
as best
probably
their
a good
technology
happy
will allow.
medium. Yeah. Well, I even though I don't have that body here, I guarantee you, if you was to fight Alita and she's in her motorball body, she's going to kick your butt every way but Sunday.
Yes.
So yeah, it's not going to be easy for a human, you know, at all. So
there's a reason why only TR cyborgs compete in motorball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting
Right.
too that, you know, all of that power. I mean, just again, thinking from purely a mechanical engineering build standpoint, like you say, Creaky, all of the components are designed so that you can easily replace them.
Yeah.
Well, from a structural integrity standpoint, every joint, every pin you make that is meant to be easily removed, well, you lose structural integrity every time you do that technically.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it is still as powerful as it is, even though you can easily remove any component, any major component from it and swap it out, is incredibly impressive.
Yep.
Just,
well, it's like a race car.
Yes.
Changing tires on a race car.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's like the best comparison I can give is like if you think about like a buckle, for instance, whether it's one like a belt buckle or one that snaps or anything like that, or a quick change, even if it's a bolted connection, you can only have so many, otherwise you're going to lose time.
Yeah, that's right.
But compare that to a permanent connection like a chain or something, or even a solid rope of the sorts. And structurally, I mean, you lose a lot. Like I say, every linkage, every connection that's meant to be easily replaced it's amazing what that does to the structural integrity.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's honestly the biggest reason why things in this world are permanently fixed unless they absolutely have to be.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Finn said that he likes a berserker body better than the motorball body. I guess it depends on the function you're looking for. I think, you know, the motorball body is a body you would use to play motorball, obviously, or if you was to go back to the 21st century and play rollerball. Remember that stream, Maxie? The motorball body would be better, you know, because the berserker body, you know, is built strictly for combat, you know, whereas the motorball body is kind of optimization between the two, you know, speed or motorball and combat. So,
and I will say I'm I guess partial to the motorball body, only because, and for that matter, the doll body. I think they're two very good. You know, they mentioned in the chat that the motorball body is the doll body 2.0, but they are the pinnacle of, if you're going to have pure mechanical operation that isn't like nanotech or anything like don't get me wrong, the berserker body is cool and all the other ones are interesting, but for the most part they're featureless in terms of how they actually work.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the motorball body in the manga and the doll body as well, you can see all of the mechanisms inside them, the actuators and the gears and just everything. It's like looking at, well, I mean, it is because that's part of what makes cyberpunk genre what it is, but you know, it's like those old, like you look at like the trains and stuff, like the locomotives from like the 40s, where it's like the absolute peak of like steam locomotion, or there's other industries too, but you know, you look at like that where they didn't have the computers, and how did they address this problem?
Yeah.
And it's just this beautiful mechanical dance going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, yes, it's less capable, but man, it's just awesome to look at.
Well, the attention to detail that was put into that, you know, to the cinematography and just the CGI and all that stuff. God, the attention to detail. Like for instance, when she was sitting on the table, you know, when you know, after she had kicked the shit out of those three cyborgs, you know, and she's sitting up there and she's holding, you know, Ito's daughter, that little pictogram thing, you know, and just her heart, looking at her heart beating, you know, how it was kind of, I mean, good God, you know, I mean, you know, and back in the old days, you wouldn't have seen that. I mean, if you saw the heart at all, it'd just been an object sitting there, and you'd say, "Oh,
Well,
look, that's the
and
heart."
even if you saw, and even if you saw a beating heart, you certainly were. I mean, look at the places where like the panels are removed.
Yes,
and you see all of the structure and the internals and like they just like you didn't have to. They did not have to do all that, and yet they did. I mean, they said it was how many thousand components in that thing?
Oh man, who knows?
There's like, I think they said like 2,000 or 3,000 that they had to actually like animate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, man, I wish I had a step file of that thing.
Yeah. I wish I really had a niece like that. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my goodness, I wish I had a step file of that thing. Of course, I'd be broke, but.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can see Alita. You look at her in that picture right there. I mean, look at that face. That is a really sweet face. But you know what?
Beware the sweet face.
Yeah, she better not. You better not be on her bad side, boy. She would definitely take you out in a heartbeat, man.
Considering those wings are made of swords.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so anyway, I guess
if you can,
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you compare the motorball body and the civilian body, which comes after it, and then the tuned body, it's sort of like there's a peak with the Berserker body, and then it drops down again, and then it starts raising up again in technology level and ability slash, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Things that it can do, basically. So capabilities.
Yeah.
So the civilian body's probably around the same level as the motorball body, in that it's good for a cyborg body, but it's nothing to write home about.
Well, it's probably more like the doll body, don't you think?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's probably a bit better than the doll body. I still think the doll body is pretty low end.
Okay.
I'm sure there'd be people who argue.
In the manga or the film?
Both. I mean, in the manga, it's just cobbled together from bits that he's managed to get out off the decament.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. The film one, I think, is a little more robust, only because he does say he built it so that his daughter could run really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still not meant to be a combat body.
No, certainly not.
So it's a body for a teenager to be able to get around easily, and you know, be solid enough that she's not going to just be a pushover if, you know, cornered in the streets of a bad city, kind of deal. But really, compared to all of the other technology that's presented as the bodies that she works her way through, the doll body's pretty low end.
Yes,
I agree with that.
Absolutely.
And then you look at like the Berserker body's like bonkers. It's if this was a graph, it'd start low and then jump up way high. And then it'd drop back down again for the motorball body, but maybe only by half.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'd say the civilian body would be around the same level of ability, in that, you know, it suits her and she can fight in it, but it's nothing to write home about. It's no nanotechnology miracle or, you know, ancient lost technology from Mars or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then the tuned body is Typharian slash technology from Zolom technology. So it is quite a bit better than what you can cobble together on the ground. So
but just below the Berserker body and ability, I think.
I think it's a fair bit below the Berserker body in that it doesn't have self-healing. It doesn't It doesn't have the plasma generator.
Yeah. That's right.
So and I think it was created specifically so that Alita had enough power to be better than the people on the ground, but not enough to challenge the people in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So it was a safe middle ground for a forced operative.
Yeah.
So they gave her enough power to deal with the people on the ground, but not enough to challenge themselves. Mm-hmm. So it was deliberately set at a power level that was not too much. But it had all those nifty little gadgets, little bees and everything.
Yes.
So it felt a bit James Bondy in that way.
Yes,
which was
it
kind of
did.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I quite enjoyed it. It had a lot of utility, but it wasn't just super OP powerful like a lot of the other bodies that she's in. Mm. And then from there, after the baby bomb, you go into the Imaginos models and everything just goes bonkers OP. So you kind of see that the graph sort of goes up and down and up and down and whoa, then it goes way up.
Start going up. Yeah, exactly.
goes in the stratosphere. So there's quite a bit of variation in what I would say is the power level of the bodies that she goes through.
Well, the Creaky sure likes Imaginos 2.1 body. Imaginos 1.0 was pretty good, and so was the 2.0 was a step above that. But this one, the Creaky's niece is all right in this one. So, okay, so I guess we beat those bodies up as much as we could. I think we've determined in one of the streams that we did for the trivia, we determined she was in 10 different bodies, one of them human, for sure, so we don't have that much time to go into all those bodies. Although if you want to, the Creek can certainly do it, but we want to see how badass Alita is. So I got some stills coming up on that one. And here's one. She is certainly badass killing Romo. I mean, in UFC terms, this would be ground and pound right here. I mean, she literally destroys him. I think it was 9, 10, or 11 punches. I can't remember how many. And they just kept coming till he was dead. So that to me is pretty badass. And she initiated this by doing a flying sidekick that covered 30 feet in the air. And once she got on top of him, it was basically over. She just destroyed his ass, I mean, that final punch, now I don't have it here, but, where you saw the blue blood splatter up, I mean, she did not stop punching him until she knew he was done. That is pretty badass right there, and that's in her doll body. Just a fan. I think I see your thing there about her weighing 130 pounds. We've had discussions about that.
I was talking specifically about like if not her as a cyborg, but like if that was a person, like 5'3" slim build person, a slim build girl, like she wouldn't weigh probably more than about 130.
Well, I think she's about 4'11" actually is what she is in the manga. She's 4'11". So
right, but in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie. Okay.
So my point is in there, Hugo picks, oh, wow, you're heavy. It's like, well, she's only got to weigh about 40, 50 more pounds than that, if even that much, to be noticeably, because she's certainly not, in the manga, she is way heavy. She's She's what, like 300 pounds or something like that in the manga?
Something like that.
It's like absurdly amount for even that. Like, but because Ito's able to carry the doll body up the stairs. Now, it doesn't have a core in it, so we don't know how much the core weighs. But you start doing the math, and somewhere in the 200-pound range is probably about right for what movie Alita weighs. But for Hugo picking that up, that's still.
Well,
especially if you see a slim build girl.
I think Hugo's basically, I've said this on other streams, I think he's a wimp.
Yeah.
I know if the Creek had been there, of course, this is a movie, but if the Creek had been there, I guarantee you I could have picked her up and I wouldn't have thought she was heavy.
Two out of 3 members of the Alita army believe that Hugo is a wimp.
Yeah. Oh, no, I completely agree that Hugo is a wimp. I think the heavy part was more not necessarily like heavy in terms of like relative to his physical capabilities, but rather in perspective to, because he didn't realize she was
to another girl.
First.
Like
Right.
Alejandro, yeah.
Like I say, like it's not relative to me. I never got the impression that it was relative to Hugo's physical ability in terms of what he could physically pick up, but rather relative to, okay, I'm looking at a person who is of this size and build. I'm expecting it to weigh this much.
I see
it's
that.
Like it's like, for instance, I gave as kind of a gag gift, somewhat of a gag gift, but like I had some people asking for like gift cards for Christmas.
Yeah.
So I got this box that's it was like 6 inches square, maybe 2-3 inches thick, and wrapped it, put the gift card in that. Well, then I also put 2 10-pound plate weights in there. And I pick it up, doing my best not to make any kind of face or anything like that.
Yeah.
And hand it to them, and they just darn near break their foot.
Yeah.
So I think it's very much, I think it's maybe not to that extreme, but that same kind of thing where it's
like an unexpected type thing, right?
Yes, that's how I took it in both the manga and the film. But I do also agree that Hugo is a wimp.
Well, he also shouldn't have said that to her either, but I've said that in past streams too. Every time I see that scene, I say, "You dumbass."
That right there is a superhero ability right there to have survived that comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Cyborg or not, I think that would have been a whooping.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, by the way, Alejandro Cramago says, yeah, this is another, speaks to her being a badass. She considered this the only solution to kind of remove the threat was to kill him. That is badass right there. So, I mean, now she's got kind of a mean look on her face there, but look at that face. That face is cute as she's pounding the hell out of him. So, I mean, hey, that's badassery right there, I think.
Yeah, she is completely focused on what she's doing. There's no distraction or second guessing anything. It's you've endangered my quote unquote father, and now you're gonna pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alita is the karma train.
That's right.
Toot. Fucking toot.
Yes. Yeah, all aboard the karma train. Yes. Yeah, Alita would be a perfect bodyguard, wouldn't she? Yeah, she would.
I honestly think that would be one of the reasons why I would love to see a television show of the Toon Dark that kind of gets skipped over.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be surprised at all if like she was the tuned agent by day or night or like on call. But then while she's not that, maybe she's picked up some side gigs.
Like singing in the Kansas bar, you mean?
Or whatever,
That was in the civilian body, though, I guess.
I mean, that was a pretty common trope in a lot of the Westerns.
She was searching for a Desti Nova while she wasn't being given specific, kill or hunt down jobs for other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, here's another testament to Alita being a badass right here. Killing Nisiana. Now, Romo, I guess he had one of his arms taken off by Ito, and he had that kind of a side-looking weapon he had. But, she was on his ass before he knew what hit him, And then, of course, she pounded him after that. And that was badassery enough. But here, Nisiana actually had those 2 blade weapons on the end of her arms. And, Alita, I mean, Nisiana was prepared for her, whereas Romo, she kind of caught him off guard a little bit, And even though when you started to look at that fight, how she held her hands up and that cute little face and all that kind of stuff like that. And Nisiana was, kind of, striking those blades against each other. she still took her out. And it was like, there was no flinching. There was no, like you say, no distraction or none of this, second guessing or any of this stuff. She was in the fight, and for her to take the initiative like that, seeing Nisiana jump at her like that, with an idea, I'm going to kind of cut you up, with this one blade weapon here. And she meets her in midair, and then, within a split second, she does that flying double side kick to take her head off. That to me is extremely badass. It is, because she went from surprising somebody and getting them that way to fighting this person, one-on-one, with that other person is prepared. And she still didn't
call that getting in the zone.
Yes, we would. That's exactly right. Yeah, she was in the zone when she was. Now, certainly she was a little bit of a disadvantage when she was on the ground, but it wasn't like I'm going to try to scoot away or something like that. She just automatically started, kind of turning over. Every time she tried to stab her, she kept turning over. Till she got to the point where Nisiana tried to, cut her, and then of course, she just reacted. There was no calculation behind it. She just reacted.
Yeah, purely instinctual. So
yeah,
that's when you really saw the training start to come out and
her remembering it.
Yep.
Yeah. Because the look on her face, I think Maxie, you brought this up before after she pounded Romo to pieces, and look on her face was, what the hell did I just do?
Yeah,
look, exactly.
It's this shocked look, like, holy crap.
Yeah,
And there's kind of that look on her face almost to an extent for the entire fight, even against Nasiana. It's very much, I hate to say she's kind of along for the ride in her own body, but it does kind of get to that almost feel where it's like, let's see what I can do.
Well, this is, my body, this is also my tools. I can also, I can do stuff with this, kind of thing, exactly. Yeah, she was a little bit like a cat on this one. Yeah, she definitely was. So, and Nisiana, man, she's badass. Nisiana, God almighty. I mean, she almost had a horror-esque look about her, didn't she? With that body, the way it was. Her legs are nice, but but the body, and the kind of way they had her face, on the skull and all that stuff. That was scary looking, a little bit,
Well, and just her aerial skills in general, like, it's interesting because, like, that was almost her specialized type of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
She lands on the corner of that building, and she doesn't just stumble; she sticks that landing.
Yeah.
And
also
that's a very good comparison to go up against Alita.
Yeah, well, even when she started that spinning attack, when she first came after her, as a kind of like a confusion, kind of attack, and then Alita handled that perfect, so. Yeah, Alita's badass here, and just to see that she would go through this to the point of decapitating her. And the look on her face when she turns around and sees Gruishka was like, okay, who's next?
In a lot of ways, I would almost say in the film, her fight against Nasiana is the peak fight for her because she's in the doll body going full on Panzerkunst.
Yeah.
She's still trying to remember it all. You can tell she's a little shaky.
Yeah.
But you're going up against a very skilled fighter who is going toe to toe with you. That was not a decisive victory necessarily.
Well, it ended up being decisive.
Oh, no, it did. It ended up being decisive, but to get to that point.
Yeah, to get to that point, it wasn't. That's right, because she was definitely at a disadvantage a couple of times. She got kicked up against the wall, and she had to dodge that one stabbing attack, I think Nisiana, though, realized from the look on her face when she did that double, that double punch, reverse punch, she did hit her with two fists, knocked her back about 12, 15 feet, She was saying, holy crap, this.
And when that amount of force, not only knocking her back, but when that doesn't shatter the doll body.
Yeah.
You can tell the amount of work that went into that darn thing.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it still was pretty darn beat up. I mean, I don't know how many panels it was missing, and I think she was missing part of the hand too on the table afterwards.
Yeah.
But she got beat up pretty bad.
Well, Ito was actually analyzing it. I know in the novelization, she cracked a couple of bushings. I think it said in the novelization. So yeah, she didn't come out of that fight unscathed. That's for sure.
There was wear and tear.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's to your point there too. Just fan the Finestro says, yeah, that Panzerkunst, that's almost like armor or weapon for her too. So.
I've been waiting for the Levi Jeans commercial with that alleyway fight.
No. You mean Alita coming out and saying buy Levi's or something?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she does wear Levi's.
Your toughest encounters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because she was wearing Levi's at one point when she was walking up to the motorball. Well, I guess they were Levi's. Who knows what they were? They were blue jeans, though, for sure.
We're going to go with that.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, yeah, Alita, badass killing Nisiana for sure. And this just goes back to that point to that one slide we had up there that talked about Alita's ability in the doll body. Humans could not do this. A human can't jump 30 feet through the air and do a side kick on somebody like that. I mean, that's a testament to, even though the doll body's not built for this, like you say, it was pretty damn good construction, actually,
Mm-hmm.
Angela says,
she definitely pushed it to its limits.
Yeah. I don't know, Angela. So I know I got two Hot Toys Alita, and neither one of them have Levi's. So I don't know. Maybe their Uncle Creek needs to buy them some. I guess I don't know. So. Any other observations about Alita and Nisiana? Now here's the best one for me, because it's like she progresses in difficulty in an opponent, from Romo to Nisiana to Grishka. Now in Grishka's case, he's kind of a slow hulking guy. He's not fast. He has a lot of power. But he's slow, he can punch hard.
Definitely went the power route.
Yeah, he did, and he says, come here, little flea, so I can pinch your head off. She didn't hesitate. She attacked. So, and then of course, evaded his punch. And then I like that little kick she does, she stomps on his head and kicks him with her other foot as she goes up on the ledge, That was a weird looking move. But anyway,
it really was. That's like the only part of the whole film to me that's like, I almost wonder if like the animators messed something up, or like the choreographers, like they didn't know what to do for that brief instant, because something just doesn't it just doesn't look right.
Well, it almost looked
like everything before that did and everything after that did, but for that instance, it's like,
Well, it kind of reminded me, that flying sidekick that she put on Romo and that jump she did up on the ledge kind of reminded me of the old Kung Fu movies back in the 70s.
Yes. Yes.
Of course, those people were humans, and she's a cyborg, so she has probably the power to pull it off. Remember, she's got that, she's got that antimatter microreactor, for a heart, so she, she's probably going to have more power than, say, had Alita not happened long and his original daughter didn't die and stuff, and he put her in the doll body. I don't have the feeling that his real daughter would have had the kind of power that Alita has in the doll body.
No, I don't think so.
Because, you know, part of that, or a good bit of that, was because she had that micro reactor in her chest, you know.
Yep. And certainly I don't think, well, I think to an extent, maybe yes, but I don't, because I think the whole thing is running off, I'm assuming, electronically. So you've got to have a limiter in there of some kind. Otherwise, you're going to short out every piece of remoter and actuator in there. But to your point, there's a peak to that. So that doesn't necessarily. So the fact that, I mean, this whole fight, she is operating at red line.
Yeah.
So that to your point is, no, there's no way Ito's daughter would have had that, at least not sustained. Like maybe she could have jumped once.
Yeah.
But nothing sustained.
Well, look at that axe kick right there. That's what that's called. Now she's hitting him on a joint, which of course is going to be the weakest part of his body. But you know, that's steel components right there, or something akin to that, maybe 500 years in the future. But this is going to take a lot of force. You know, for her to be able to separate his arm from his body. You know, I don't care if she does hit a joint. That's going to be a tough thing to do. And she did not hesitate. She came off that ledge and severed his arm and then picked up that damn rocket hammer and just knocked the crap out of him with it. So to the point where he decided, well, I think I've had enough. I think I'm going to start backing up here. So, you know, I mean, for her to, without a second thought, attack somebody like him, who's probably what, Maxie, 3 meters tall, maybe 2.5 to 3 meters tall. Yeah, and she's maybe 1.5 meters tall, maybe something like that.
No,
you know?
Because 2 meters is like 7 feet.
Yeah, well, she's below that, so she's probably. Well, she's between 1 and 1.5 meters, probably. I guess I don't know exactly.
She's supposed to be 140 centimeters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. So she basically is attacking someone twice her size, and she does it without even thinking about it.
Yes.
That is badass.
Panzerkunst is meant to be a combat art where smaller fighters take on larger opponents. So her fighting style is built around her being the smallest combatant.
And she sure used it to good effect.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, but the thing of it is, when you think she's got a human brain, okay? And, you know, of course, she may have some of those same feelings of maybe seeing this big ass guy in front of her like this, and she's going to attack him. She may have, if she did have fear, she turned it around quickly, made it a weapon against him, you know?
Well, and I think that's a lot of the case is when she turns around to face, especially Nasiana, you can see kind of the fear in her eyes. I mean, this whole thing, because the reality is she knows that if she doesn't defeat these people, Ito's not getting out of this alive.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way Ito can stand up to any of these people. So she's it. So in terms of that fight or flight mentality, once she's slowly but surely worked up into that, she's going to give it everything she's got. And that's exactly what we see here.
Yeah.
And we see that same thing in the underworld happen again, but I don't know what you've got scheduled.
Well, I got something coming up on that, you know. So even though she loses that fight, we'll get to that one, you know. But I just think that whole thing, whatever her equivalent to adrenaline is, which she probably had some of that in her brain. You know, she doesn't have the endocrine system that humans do. But there's something that got her to turn that fear into power, you know. So, you know, Cyber MMA. Yeah, that's exactly right, Finn. That's exactly what it is. So,
Is it adrenaline, Maxie, that goes to the brain?
Well, adrenaline affects many parts of the body. It increases your heart rate, your respiration rate.
Yep.
It releases glucose from your liver to power your muscles. So there's a whole bunch of things it does. I do believe it speeds up your thought processes as well.
Well, I can tell you that I know when I do powerlifting, I don't lift near as heavy training as I do in a powerlifting meet. And it's got to be adrenaline, because because
I knew there were a lot of physical aspects to it, but I didn't know if I can't remember if there's a mental aspect to it or not. Again, just trying to think about like the core and what chemicals she's, like you say, she's still got a human brain, so any chemicals that it can synthesize to assist that in any manner are going to be beneficial.
So it'd be kind of like an analog for adrenaline, I would think, for her system parts, I think so. Yeah.
Professor Google says adrenaline makes your heart beat faster and your lungs breathe more efficiently.
Okay.
It causes the blood vessels to send more blood to the brain and muscles, increases your blood pressure, makes your brain more alert, and raises sugar levels in the blood to give you energy. Your pupils grow larger and you sweat.
Oh, and it's a good thing, now you don't want your blood pressure to be high all the time, but when you, like, for instance, in powerlifting, you feel, it's almost like, I wouldn't call it fear, but it's like a kind of a close line between fear and apprehension, something like that.
Yeah, I was the exact same way when I would go into, because I threw shot put and discus, and
nice.
I can tell you that I, in no point in my life, including now, look like a shot put or discus thrower. I am 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, but yeah, when I step into that ring, there's quite a few people I scared a little bit.
Yeah,
because I'm not exact, just much. Again, the things I see in Alita is, you've got this nice, friendly looking person, and then all of a sudden they go into just this absolute raging monster of sorts.
That's a 3D printed model of Alita smacking the crap out of Nishiana.
Can you send me that in a DM? I'm gonna pull an Angelus on you every time I put a new picture of that he doesn't have of Rosa. He always says, "Can you send me that in a DM?"
But that face is that face when that adrenaline comes over you, or that feeling like you talk about. I mean, that is the hardest, most difficult thing to sell correctly when these superheroes and action heroes are trying to do this. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is they're trying to do, if they don't get that face right, you're not going to sell any of what you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things. I mean, Rosa just absolutely nailed this film. Yeah,
she did. God, she's great. Yeah. Don't get me started on that. I'll be singing Rosa's praises for the rest of them.
To the topic of the stream, I mean, that to me is also what makes her so awesome, is just
look at that.
You've got to have incredible talent to portray.
Oh yeah, look at her face in that shot. Look at her face in that shot. It's like she is really, really kicking this arm off of this big cyborg. I mean, the face looks exactly like that,
Yep.
I mean,
and every ounce of effort she's got to put into it. Like, there's no nonchalant leisure or anything about it. That's everything she's got.
Yeah. So anyway, that's another testament to Alita's badassery right there, taking on
absolutely
double her size and kicking the living crap out of him. So, and so much so he loses an arm and all of his innards are cracked, because she hit him with that rocket hammer. So, holy crap, that sweet looking face just destroyed this hulking monster. So
Yep.
unbelievable. Okay, so anyway, next one here is kicking Zapan's ass. I really like this one too. See, at this point, she's already got a glimmer of what she can do. You remember when Hugo took her out for chocolate, and they stopped at that little kiosk, and she gets chocolate and loves it and stuff like that. And Zapan comes walking by, Hugo paints him as some kind of superhuman, whatever, hunter warrior, that I wouldn't want to be that guy he was chasing, type thing. At this point, Alita already knows she has a pretty good idea what her capability is. And she sized this guy up, from the second this guy walks up to her when they're at the bar, she's already got him sized up, and this is another case, of someone. Now he's not as big as Gorishka, obviously, but he does kind of tower over her a little bit, and he's got that sword, that Damascus blade. Still, it doesn't matter, when she slams his head on the table, and he comes after her with the Damascus blade, and all she does is just like instinctive movement. And then, kind of hits him in the midsection with a punch to distract him, and then pops him, with a palm strike to the nose, and then kicks the crap out of him where he travels 25 feet across the floor. That is really badass to go into a bar like this. And if you've read the novelization, or you've heard the audiobook, where this is frequented by hunter warriors and motorballers, and they've kind of taken it over as their turf. The average person doesn't go in there for a drink, and she just comes, her and Hugo, she just comes strolling in there like no big deal. And this probably one of the badasses in the bar, and she does not hesitate to whip his ass.
And adding to that, I think outright, I think Zapan is stronger than her. But Alita has the training to know exactly where to place every single hit every single time so that she can outwit and outcompete the bigger opponent.
Yeah, that's right.
And plus, too, Zapan has the Damascus blade, which he is he is your classic entitled kind of pretty boy of sorts.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, Alita turns that against him more so than anything. It's like, he relies too much on the sword. He's kind of forgotten how to fight in a sense. And Alita just mops the floor with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And just like with the other three cyborgs, she doesn't hesitate. There's no calculation here. There's no trying to talk her way out of it or any of that stuff. He acts upon her and she just takes him out, No,
she pretty much talks her way into it.
Well, absolutely. Yes, she does. Yeah, she taunts him, doesn't she?
And that's kind of what I mean is like even before the fight, like she is psyching him out before the fight starts, because I genuinely think that she knows that he's outright stronger than her, so she's got to beat him some other way.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she does, is she plays him like a piano.
Well, it was kind of like I was saying a while ago. She had him sized up when he came up to her.
Mm-hmm.
She already had him figured out, okay.
Yep.
So yeah,
exactly.
So she's getting back some of her mojo, when it comes to fighting, like when she was in the armed military and all. She's starting to remember this stuff now, so now she's but in this case, I don't think she was afraid at all. I think she was afraid, I think, a little bit in the alley. Here, she's not afraid. She knows she's going to kick this guy's ass. No,
the attitude she goes into the bar with in a lot of ways is not very admirable.
Yeah.
In a sense, like she's going in with this mentality of I'm going to push around whoever I need to get what I want.
Yeah.
And I'm just as guilty of that mentality. You're trying to basically scare people into helping you.
Yep.
And that, of course, is not the way to go. That is not the high road.
No.
But that's what's so cool about the bar scene is that slowly but surely she kind of gets snapped out of that and back to grounding. And
yeah, well, I do think though she went in there initially with the idea that she wanted to convince people to help her and Ito fight against Gorwishka, and I think she wanted to try to convince them or do a little bit of a sales pitch, if you want to call it. And then when that didn't work, now it's okay. All right, I'm going to beat the hell out of you people. Whoever, and that would be, I'm going to take on anybody in this room. And if I win, you fight beside me.
Yep.
So,
yeah. And I think that was her plan going in. It's like, well, I'm going to somewhat try the nice way, but I don't know. It's interesting to see the psychological evolution of the bar. Yeah. Of the bar scene. It is very, very interesting, the dynamics at play.
Yes, indeed.
That is by far one of my favorite scenes, because that's the word I was trying to think of. She goes in with like this tough guy mentality in a sense.
Yeah.
And comes out very humble.
Yeah. Well, she did tell Hugo going in, just watch my back. It's like, okay, I'm going in here. If I don't get what I want, I'm going to kick ass. But I need you to watch my back. So, yeah, that's exactly what she was going to do. Yeah, you're right,
So that's what I like. Again, to her credit as a character.
Yeah.
I don't know why if it's writers or what, but they seem to think that, they can't have a character who has these ups and downs.
Yeah.
And still be incredible. Like that's what makes Alita so awesome, is that she has this incredibly dynamic
personality. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to call it volatile, but
yeah,
it is not a cut and dry straight, like she's human.
Yeah.
That's like, we all have those ups and downs and just uncontrolled moments where we think, okay, we're just going to go into this and kick butt and take names, and realize that maybe that wasn't the best course of action, but it is so awesome to see that. So psychologically, that's what makes Alita awesome.
Yeah, Maxie, what to Just a Fan's point about writers that get stuck in one dimension, where they got the superhero archetype going, and there can't be shades of gray, or they can't have a little bit of a dark side or something like that. What's your take on that?
I mean, everybody has a dark side. Nobody's a perfect angel.
Yeah.
And it's often the people who do their best to hide their dark side from everybody are the ones that it leaks out of.
Yeah.
And causes huge amounts of problems.
Story of my life.
I actually I have a light novel author who I'm really enjoying his series. There's two series that he writes. The first one I finished reading. It's called My Teenage Romantic Comedy is Messed Up as I Expected. The anime of which is My Teenage Romantic Comedy Snafu, which is particularly good. But the characters are quite complicated, and none of them talk in a way that's straightforward. Everything's roundabout, and there's one scene there where there's a love confession. The word love is not used because that would be too straightforward.
Yeah.
And And the way they go about it, oh my God, it's just cringeworthy. But it makes sense for the characters. But this other series that I'm listening to at the moment that he wrote, I don't know if it's finished or not yet, but there's an anime for it coming as well. It's called My Friend's Little Sister Has It In For Me. And it's about a young bloke there's all these teenagers who are doing way better than most of the adults I know. But there's this teenager who started a phone app development group. They're making this game, and he's roped in his best friend who's like a genius level programmer. And the guy's that friend's sister is an amazing voice actress, although their mother, who he finds out later is some big wig at a game development company or a media development company, has basically forbid her children to have anything to do with anything like this. So they're doing it under the radar. And their school teacher, his homeroom teacher is actually doujinshi artist, and they've roped her in to do the graphics for it. And it's really complicated, but it's really, really good. But he's writing about the like everybody's an onion, and they've all got layers, and they show different layers to different people. And this is no more obvious in this story. Yes, it's a very well used analogy. But there's the little sister who's got it in for him, who's actually in love with him, but he doesn't recognize this because, you know, all of these male protagonists have got to be completely stupid and not recognize when somebody's interested in them. She picks on him quite regularly. And he's like, well, his way of thinking is everything has to be optimized. It's got to be done in the most efficient manner possible. And it's inefficient to pick on somebody you like. So why the hell would you do it? But when he's trying to work this girl out, he's saying, okay, she's got all these different sides that she shows to different people, but he gets to see the real her, the real sassy tsundere sort of side. But there's another girl who actually lives on the other side of him, because she lives on one side, he lives on the other girl lives on the other side, which is his cousin, who's in love with him as well. She's actually pretending to be a guy who's a well-known author. That's like a writing persona, and she's working with them to develop this game, and he doesn't know it. So there's all these people who have got all these different sides that they're showing, but none of them are showing the real them sort of thing. And the sort of upside was that you can't be yourself to practically anybody. You've got to be showing this side that's socially acceptable, and it's the people that don't bother with that are the real people. Like, they show their real selves. Like the Joker is showing his real self to the world, and it's not pleasant, but it's at least he's being real. He's not. I don't know that I'd call it lying, but it's, you know, shaving off the rough edges, or, you know, if you've got,
that's just deceptive behavior, you know.
Yeah. But I mean, if you've got some sort of deep-seated desires which are socially unacceptable, you're not going to show them to anybody. No. You're not going to because you're going to worry about what your family thinks about it, and what what you know, other, like, your boss thinks about it, or your friends think about it, and you're going to hide that shit because it's socially unacceptable.
Yeah.
So you're not really showing.
That's why they say don't talk about religion or politics at family gatherings.
That's right.
Exactly. But I mean, like, I'm just using that as an obvious one, that, you know, the porn industry is there to provide that stuff for the people who, you know, can't talk about it. They can go on and safe search it, turn safe search off and find it. But basically he's saying that it's very rare for you to meet the real person. You will meet a sanitized or a modified or a
putting your best foot forward type thing.
Yeah, but a socially adjusted version of the person.
Yeah, that's right.
So the real person, the real, real down and dirty, deep, real, all, everything's there, nothing's hidden sort of persona. Very rare that you will ever see that side of a person.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like,
have you ever seen the movie Fight Club, Maxie?
Have I seen what, sorry?
The movie Fight Club?
I've seen bits of it. I haven't seen it all the way through.
Yeah,
I was going to say that dives into that quite deeply to a level that is very, very interesting.
But basically, getting back to your point is that the people who are powerful enough to get away with that shit, like the everyday person will get arrested, but because you're doing things that are outside social norms. But if the environment is loose enough, like Iron City, where you can get away with it, as long as somebody doesn't get the shits with you and put a bounty on your head, then if the environment says no, you've got to behave within social mores and that sort of thing. You can't just excise it from your personality. It's still there. You just got to hide it. So, I mean, you will not necessarily get to see the real person for a very long time, if ever, in our current society.
Well, in this particular case right here,
well, at least without alcohol.
Yeah, that's right. But in this particular case right here, where Alita was badass going into a bar filled with bounty hunters and other, ne'er-do-wells and folks that just love to fight and stuff like that, like they were doing when she walked in there with the idea that I am going to get what I want. That's badass. But as badass as that is, I think this one right here is the most badass moment in the movie for me from her, because if you remember, and of course we do, because we've all seen the movie so many times, some of us have lost count. But
I just stopped counting.
I'm at 42.
How many, Maxie?
42.
You're at 42?
Yeah.
You mean I've seen Alita more than you? I stopped at 50.
I know Angelus has seen it more than I have, but you see, I as a writer who thinks deeply about story and everything, I could watch it a certain number of times, but then I just don't want to ruin it, by just watching it too many times. And I like to wait a couple of months and then watch it again.
I kind of do that. I kind of like waiting.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, but think about how badass she is here. I mean, she is chopped to bits. She doesn't have an arm. Her lower body's gone. She's bleeding out heart's blood and cyber blood. Yep. And she is so badass that she springs into action and rams her hand in Gruishka's eye and says, "Fuck your mercy." Holy crap. I've said this many times. When I saw that scene right there, I remember the first time I saw it, I literally stood up and went, "Oh my God, that's great." Like that, knowing that probably she was going to die, because she didn't know Ito and Hugo and McTeague with his dogs were going to come down there. She didn't know that. Right. She had already accepted the fact that I'm going to die, but I'm going to give him something to remember me by.
Yes.
And she did, boy.
Holy
crap.
It was very much this attitude, which again is incredibly admirable, you talk about the evolution of her, the psychological evolution, the roller coaster, I guess is probably a better word, of the bar scene.
Yeah.
When Gruishka shows up, she goes very much from being on top of the world to kind of snap back to reality pretty quick.
Yeah.
And you can see, you know, the fear in her eyes and all of that comes back. And it very much, she assumes this in a lot of ways. I think it rivals this moment to me is when she says, "It's all right, Ito."
Yeah.
That to me is on par with this moment right here, because for every reason you stated, she is accepting that, one, this is my fight. Two, I'm the only one who cares enough to do anything. Three, nobody's going to help me anyway, so I'm on my own. And you're basically accepting your fate is, like you say, she knows she's probably going to die doing this.
Yeah.
But she's going to give it her all no matter what.
Yeah. And this speaks to that point right here. Never
Yep.
give up.
Alita as a frog.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
swallow me if I'm choking the shit out of you, bitch.
Well, this speaks to that perseverance and determination, and we brought up in so many other streams, not just this stream, but in the Radio Chaos stream also. You know, as she just will not stop. She's just not going to. You know, and I think that's a very, to me, endearing quality about her. You know, never giving up. You know, I mean, she's, no matter what the obstacle, you know, I'm going to overcome. I am going to make this happen, you know, and that to me is you know, a lot of us real people could learn from that, you know, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
And that is definitely it's a selflessness is what that scene really demonstrates, is just how selfless, you know, she goes into the bar very, I'll say, selfish.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, you can say Gruishka is all these things, but she goes in with a very selfish attitude and comes out of it incredibly humble and selfless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really is, you know, true to that perseverance, but it's a type. So many films try to replicate that, like, not just the whole never give up, but like the selflessness aspect of it that we see, where you've got this whirlwind of emotions going on, and you basically know you're running straight into the jaws of death, and that you have this idea that if I don't do this, nobody else will, and even if I can't win, I'm going to at least buy enough time so that everybody I know can live.
Yeah.
And there are lots of films that really try to pull that off, and that is so incredibly difficult to do. I mean, the number of scenes that these writers fleshed out completely and pulled off in spades. I mean, it's just incredible. You don't see that in too many films.
No, you do not.
And to see Rosa have the capability as an actress to pull off all of those scenes, that roller coaster of emotion, that's incredible. And that is, again, a testament to the topic of the stream, where that, I mean, if that doesn't make her awesome, I don't know what does.
Exactly. And see, when I look at her face right there, I mean, her face is dirty. She's mad. Look at that intense, you know, that intense look she's giving Gruishka. To me, that is beauty right there.
Yeah, well, and it's as real, and the reason for that is because it's real. It's not like, she's not a model, she's not a spokesperson. This is reality in a lot of ways. I mean, that's why so many people like, you know, the war movies and stuff like that, is because they don't candy coat anything. You know, if somebody's, and, you know, in a lot of like the recent Marvel films and stuff like that, they can be wrestling on the ground and all these other things. And sure enough, the main character's face doesn't have a scratch on him hardly. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's not all dirty and greasy and bloody, and it's.
Whew, look at that intense look. Holy shit. Yeah, I remember the first time I saw that, boy, I fell in love with Alita right there.
Yep.
Yep. I told one time,
I think we all did.
I told I told, I guess, I forget who it was I told this to. I think it was Cran I told too, that if had she been a real person sitting next to me when I saw the movie, I would have proposed to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because God, look at that. I mean, there's no words you can put on that. I mean, seriously, you know, that is badass right there. That is the epitome of badass. And by the way, if you look up badass in a dictionary, you will see that picture right next to it. Exactly. That is the badass moment of the movie for me.
Yeah.
You know, there I agree with you, Just a Fan. There are some other scenes in there that are really up there, you know, with it, you know, but I think this one for me is
Mm-hmm.
the epitome of all the badassery.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. It is very much so.
Here's another one I think is that Alita's badass. You remember she's going into this, what she thinks is a tryout,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and she's all happy. As a matter of fact, I think I've said many times, before I go into like a powerlifting competition, you know, I'll if I don't, I mean, I usually will watch the whole movie, you know, but if I can't watch the whole movie, I'll at least look at this one scene on YouTube where she's in the locker room with Ito and Gerhard, and I guess
Mm-hmm.
you know, I guess Esdoc or Ed is it got a little cameo in it, but you know, where she is all, you know, she's kind of relaxed, she's all happy, and she's sitting there, you know, she's about to go out here and play this sport, you know, that is extremely dangerous. It's her first time, you know, and it's like the first words out of her mouth, Ito, can a human love a cyborg? Okay.
Yep.
You don't need to be thinking about that right now, you know, and his answer was perfect, you know. Yeah, a human can love a cyborg, but you got to keep your mind on the game, Alita.
Yeah. And when she does get her mind on the game, she's incredibly excited and happy. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest faces of joy since only again to be, you know, when she first sees Zalem floating above and walks outside for the first time, you know, that's probably one of the only other times where she's got that level of joy on her face.
Yeah. To her, this whole murder ball thing, once Ito tells her that, you know, they're going to kill you, and she says, which one? And he says, all of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, to her, it's like now it's a delicious thing. Oh boy.
Yep.
You know, and of course she does not flinch. You know, a lot of people would have been in that kind of circumstance, and they'd been hightailing it off the track, but not her.
That to me, I guess what the situation in my life that resonates with that is, especially in high school, but college too, but going into finals week, where it's like, we're going to test your skills and abilities and see what you know. No, they're trying to kill you.
Yeah.
You know, metaphorically speaking, but it's like, so then there's people who are going to get all freaked out by that and uneasy and stuff. And I go into that and it's like, okay, this is the name of the game, especially if you get like, I mean, there were plenty of times where I had teachers and professors who would, oh, you know, the test is going to be this and that and study that and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get the test and it's like orders of magnitude more difficult. And it's like, okay, I can either freak out about this, I can leave the room, or this is the name of the game and this person is trying to beat me, and all right, game on. Let's see which one of us is left standing by the end of this.
Well, I like that look on her face after Ito told her that they're all out to kill her, and she kind of looks back at I guess it was Stinger, you know, just before the you know, the starting gun goes off, you know, they shoot the ball out there. The look on her face was a kind of a really wry looking, comical looking look, you know, and I'm going, oh shit, she's going to enjoy this.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree with that too. Is, you know, it's a weird kind of thing, because like, it's not really joy per se, but it's a satisfaction. Of just, I'm gonna best you.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like, oh, there's any manner of activity has this, but it's the, you know, it's kind of the same satisfaction as, you know, no pain, no gain kind of a thing, where it's like, what I'm doing at the moment isn't exactly enjoyable, but the end result of knowing that I overcame this challenge is worth all the blood, sweat, and tears to get there.
Yeah, I got the feeling though, to me, it looked like her face was, I'm going to enjoy this. That's kind of like what I got. And then when she turned around just before the gun went off, and now she's all business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, all right, I'm going to make this happen now.
Yeah,
So,
no, and
yeah.
and that's completely right. Is it very much like I say, with the whole, and we talked about this earlier with the whole fear aspect.
Yeah.
That to me, that look on her face of joy basically is her channeling this fear. Almost, I hate to use the comparison of the Joker, but he's kind of like a real extreme to this, but you basically get like this sort of maniacal psycho sort of level enjoyment out of it, where it's like, okay, if that's what we're doing, let's do it.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing where, like you say, it's on the one hand it's not really joy, but on the other hand it kind of is, and you get this kind of weird gray area that again just takes an absolute expert of an actress to pull off.
Yes.
And then, like you say, when she turns around and that starting gun is ready to go off, you can see her entire face change, and it is all business.
Yeah.
And
it is.
From the time that gun goes off to the time that she's going to get Hugo, I mean, it is laser focused, just surgically, you know, I mean, she's got to figure out the track and the game and stuff like that, how everything kind of works. But yeah, it is laser focused, just one step at a time, taking out everybody.
Which she did very well.
Yes.
I believe there's a term called reap the whirlwind.
Ah.
Where basically you stand in the calm spot in the middle of the whirlwind and just reap the whirlwind. Yep. Everything's going crazy around you, and you've just got this calm sort of business-like attitude right in the middle of the chaos.
Yep. I have long said when the world is in chaos, when the world is a thunderstorm, I am at my calmest because the pressures have equalized now.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, very much to that, Maxie.
Yep.
Like,
yeah, and when you think about the badassery or the badass aspect of this, is that
there's nothing about that that
like
isn't.
10, there was like, what's there, 8 or 10 cyborgs out there when she discovers all of them are out to kill her.
Right.
But okay, all of you are going to try to kill me. All right.
Yep, exactly.
Well, at least you don't have to think about which one's the good guy and which one's bad guy.
Exactly.
And there is some comfort to that kind of an attitude, you know? It's like
target-rich environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only is it a target-rich environment, but in a lot of ways, it's almost soothing to know that you don't have to differentiate any of that.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to say,
there's no such thing as collateral damage. There's no such thing as being too careful. There's no such thing as
I'm going to kill them all. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And to Maxie's point,
let God sort them out.
Yeah, that's right. I have a friend that says that would say that, you know, from years ago. But to Maxie's point about the motorball body, you know, she did this in the berserker body.
Mm-hmm.
That motorball body is optimized for, you know, this kind of thing, I think. You know, now she's doing mostly combat here as opposed to racing, you know. But I can't imagine how good she would have been had she been in the motorball body, which was specifically designed for this. You know, how much faster she would have taken out all those cyborgs, you know.
Well,
I don't know.
she didn't have the Damascus blade.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
With a motorboard body designed for the track and a Damascus blade. I mean, and we know that she can light it up.
Yeah.
Because she does it before the race.
Yeah.
That plasma is going to wreck face. It's
Yeah, it is.
She may not be able to use it as regularly or something like that, but it's going to make.
I could see there being a rule against no plasma, but still just use it as a bladed weapon. But yes, still to your point, she is going to mop the floor with whatever.
Yeah. Okay. And her killing Screwhead and Stinger. Actually, she doesn't kill Screwhead. I guess Stinger kills Screwhead by accident. But, here's a case where Screwhead had her, basically was holding her down for Stinger to cut her in half, in 3 pieces. And Alita, is just kind of, the look on her face up there, I think she was faking it, I think she was faking fear at that point, just so when Stinger started bringing those blades down, then she could do what she did, and pulled Screwhead into the way, into the path of the blades, to cut her in 3 different pieces. That kind of, I guess, knowing that you're in that position 2-on-1, you're at a disadvantage or seemingly at a disadvantage.
I don't know that she was faking the fear.
Well, maybe not, but it didn't matter whether she was faking it or not. She used the situation. She kind of figured it out.
I think a lot of it was more a worry of I've got to figure a way out of this, not so much a fear that I can't get. Like that I'm overpowered, but rather I've got seconds to figure this out.
Yeah.
But because I don't think at that point, I don't think she knew about the healing abilities.
Yeah, she didn't figure that out till Gruishka, did she, at the end? So, but I do think, though, the fact that she did figure this out, she was clear-headed enough to where, even under a dire situation like that, you got a cyborg holding you down for you to be cut in half. And for her to pull this and then, of course, kill him by putting him in the crusher, I guess. I think that's badassery right there, too. It's just another example of how badass
absolutely.
She is. Yeah, that's right.
The resourcefulness displayed in the time frame she had was just incredible. That was, in a lot of ways, it was a pure melee fight.
Yeah.
Those I love those more so than anything. It's just to see the unconventional manners, how the hero, in a sense, makes use of their surroundings to overcome the challenges presented.
Yeah, that's right.
That to me is the true measure of.
And just in case El Lamont sees this stream, which I doubt she will, but just in case she does, El Lamont, we still love you. We want you to come back as Screwhead in the sequel. So, that way, we don't see you as the bad guy here. Well, you were a bad guy here, I guess, but you were just after the bounty. So there you have it. Okay. This right here, to me, is the second most badass scene or segment of the movie. Other than the F Your Mercy. Think about her going into this factory. She's only been in there once. And she knows there are Centurions in there, because she's seen them before. And in this particular case, where Vector had more Centurions in there than that was in there when she went in the first time.
Were there?
Yeah, there were. I counted them. They had like 2 shots, where they had like, she was walking in. As she was walking in, there were 6 in front of her, and then they immediately cut to her front, and there were 6 behind her. Now
Okay.
there could be a little time element in there. Maybe it was 10 or 8, who knows, you know, but if you take it at face value like that,
Yeah.
there's 12 Centurions in there, and they're all armed with automatic weapons, like a Gatling gun and a machine gun, you know.
Mhm.
And she just comes strolling her ass in there, and I'm going to take you all out. And
Yep.
she did. She
Mhm.
took them out in 15 seconds. Now that to me is super duper badass right there.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and see how she deflect that bullet right there. The fact that she was fast enough and accurate enough to get the Damascus blade in front of that bullet to deflect it is one thing. But, you know, I actually calculated the caliber of the gun that fired it, and it's a 100 caliber gun. In other words, it's 1 inch in diameter. That's a big gun, you know.
That's
1 inch
twice the
maxi.
caliber of a 50 cal sniper.
That's
rifle.
right, and it's for maxi. It's 2.5 centimeters. So
Thank you.
yeah, and
We're really thinking-
there's
we're
a
really
lot of
thinking
kinetic.
these were 20
Well,
millimeter
maxi bring.
cannons?
I'm sorry.
We're really thinking these were 20 millimeter cannons?
No, they are 1 inch guns. I mean, I measured them, you know, based on, you know, looking how I knew how tall she. Well, I don't want to go in how I figured it out too much because I did a video on this a couple of years ago. But you know, based on how tall she was, I know she's.
Okay.
Yeah, was able to calculate by measuring. I had to do stop the frame and you know, measure it type thing. You know, that it and how much I was able to calculate how much it weighed and stuff like that. But you know, I measured it being equivalent to a 1 inch or 2.5 centimeter
Okay.
gun. And the thing about it is about this is that, you know, Maxie he mentioned a 50 caliber gun. A 100 caliber gun would deliver 4 times the kinetic energy of a 50 caliber. And I don't know if you've ever heard a 50 caliber gun or not. It is awesome, you know, the way it sounds, especially if it's like a Gatling gun, you know, because when
I think it's higher than that.
could be, you know, but I mean, that's based on my measurement. I mean, I could be wrong. I could have been off, you know.
No, I mean in terms of the energy.
Well, I'm going by the diameter. Now, granted, you may be right about that because the amount of energy you would need to project it, you would probably need more gunpowder or something like that. I wasn't able to calculate that. You know, I just went by the diameter of the bullet, you know, being, you know, 4 times the area of a 50 cal, you know. So I said, okay, if they have similar, you know, kind of gunpowder, it's going to be 4 times the kinetic energy, you know, but I was unable to really estimate that, you know. But I don't know if you've ever heard a Gatling gun go off like that. When I worked for DOD, I remember first time I ever heard that scared the shit out of me. You know, I was walking back from one place to another on an Air Force base and they were doing weapons testing. And man, was that thing loud. It sounded like an engine, you know. So it was pretty amazing. So, but anyway, I compared that gun to the GAL-19, which is a Gatling gun that the Army uses on helicopters. But anyway, that's how I kind of, you know, figured out the weight and estimated it, that kind of thing. But for her to be able to hold that Damascus blade like that while that bullet hits it and deflects it, I mean, you got to be strong as hell to do that, because most people, they just knock that blade right out of her hand, you know. I mean, the bullet would have, you know, they wouldn't have been able to hold the blade like that.
No, and you can see she's bracing it with her forearm.
Yeah. So, I mean, awesome. But to go in there with them firing these guns at her and to cut all of them up, just chop them up, you know, and she did all that in 15 seconds. Holy crap, I wouldn't want to fight her.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that was another badass moment, I think, when she come walking in there with all those Centurions and yelling Vector at the top of her voice.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, okay, you know, it's like in the novelization, I'll turn all of you into piles of junk.
Yeah.
You know? And she did, basically. So
Yeah, no lack of confidence there.
oh, absolutely not, you know. And this is also superhero level crap right here. I mean, that right there, deflecting a bullet like that. I mean, that reflex, that's Deadpool level stuff. That is, you know, I mean, holy crap, you know, I mean, it's unbelievable. But anyway, that's another badass moment I think that I really liked in the movie, you know, her just comes strolling in there, you know, and I'm going to, you know, with no regard for how many damn Centurions are in there, I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to get Vector. Right. I don't care what's in my path. I'm going to get him. So, you know, and
I really like the next scene in the novelization where Vector had pulled strings to get glass that was meant to go to Zalem into the skylight in his office. And Alita comes crashing through it and he goes, that was bulletproof glass. There's no way she should have been able to do that.
Somebody swapped out the low grade stuff or something. I think he said, didn't he, Maxie, or something like that.
I expect she just put the plasma blade through it and it just went melty. Yeah,
probably so. And he just didn't know she had that capability or something, you know. So
yeah. I don't think any sort of bulletproof glass would be able to resist plasma.
Oh, no way.
No, in general, the bulletproof glass that gets used, typically it's only strong against impact. Once you do even remotely crack it, it just shatters completely. They have to, like when they make like the armored cars and stuff like that, they have to layer it and basically they glue layers of plastic in between it to hold the glass shards together.
Yeah.
Because once they shoot the darn thing, I mean, you almost can't see out of it anymore.
Well, the thing of it is, too, is once you shoot it, you got to replace it, too, I would imagine. Yeah.
Right.
So,
so it's very interesting, but still an immense amount of force.
Yeah, and this particular scene here is why because I had to estimate, you know, how long the floor was from the door to where the deckman was and how wide it is. And I kind of guessed what those squares were by her gate, you know. So I kind of guessed it, you know, how big they were, and I figured out that the length of that floor was about 150 feet, and it was probably it was about 75 feet wide, but that's a guess, you know, at best. But anyway, if she had to go from Centurion to Centurion like that in 15 seconds, she had to be traveling 125 miles an hour to do that. Now, I don't know if they thought about that in the movie or not. They were probably just shooting the scene, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, and of course, I'm making the assumption that the Centurions were equal number distance apart and all that shit, which they wouldn't be, you know. But, you know, anyway, that's kind of gave me a ballpark figure at least, you know. But to take out all these Centurions in 15 seconds, I mean, that's, you know, when she's only armed with basically a sword and they got automatic weapons, kind of like that Batman scene, you know, in Batman versus Superman, where he goes into that factory and takes out those 24
that's
guys. That was
the think of one, and I knew I'd seen it. That's the one I was trying to think of.
So anyway, our girl is really badass in this thing right here, for sure. And she is certainly badass here. And I think, to your point, Justifan, that, you know, she didn't know, or it might have been you, Maxie, that said this. She probably at this point didn't know that she had that self-healing capability until she looked down to her side after Gwishko had punctured her with the grind cutter, you know. And she looked down and saw her side repairing itself, you know. It's kind of like, oh boy, there's something I didn't know I had, you know. So,
well, as Ito said when he woke up, it didn't come with a manual.
That's right. That's exactly right. And of course, after she got through talking to him, because she knew that Nova was riding him, you know. And when the true fight started, it took her all of 10 seconds to cut him in half. So he's done. So. And him shooting those grind cutters at her like that, and her slicing them like that way she did and the way she moved, that's badass. That is super badass, you know. And he, in this body here, what he has, you know, remember Shirin upgraded him. So he's tougher than he was in the alley. Of course, she's got a tougher body too, and she's got that plasma weapon, you know. So
Right, that's the same body he had in the underworld.
except he didn't have the grind cutter.
In the underworld, he did.
Oh, in the underworld, yeah. I was thinking the alley. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
That's exactly the same body in the underworld. That's right. But what he has here is more powerful than what he had in the alley.
Correct.
Because she upgraded him. You know, Shirin did. You know.
Yeah, well, and you even see in the underworld when she goes to kick his arm off again, she just kind of bounces off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So,
and he just kind of snickers at her, you know, like, you know, little flea, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. Look at that little flea right there. Just cut your ass in half. So, you know, he's done.
I don't think Gruishka knew that Alita had the upgraded Berserker body. Or if he did, he wasn't given the full description of how much more upgraded it was.
Yeah.
Because, again, and of course it'd be a shorter movie and things like that, but I do find it interesting how, like, tropes and things of movies tend to persist. One of the more recent examples is like like Yondu with his arrow and stuff, and it's like, oh, well, why didn't all the bad guys fire on him at once? Well, then he couldn't have used his arrow to do it. Well, why didn't Gruishka fire all the grind cutters at once like we saw him do umpteen million times in the alleyway? Because then we wouldn't have. But just to see, it's interesting, you know, because we talk about how technologically advanced the Berserker is. But it's interesting how, in a sense, and I think it makes the movie that much better, is that even though she's incredibly advanced in this Berserker body, the grind cutters can still pierce it with relative ease. I mean, it's not like they just nick it. I mean, they put a hole through her.
Yeah, they did.
And,
Lee.
So
Lee,
that's interesting.
Lee, we are still going. Yeah. Once the creek gets really going on Alita, he could go for a long time.
Yeah. The three of us. Well, we proved that with just you and me, and we get Maxie involved. And goodness, if we had Angelus on, shoot, we should not be left unattended.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we need adult supervision. Is what we need. So, but I just love this, you know, in the
that's a good idea. That's a really good idea.
You know, I've got to say that I thought how badass, when the question was how badass is Alita anyway, I was like, very, next week we'll be talking about
yeah
very
badass. Yeah, I don't have a subject for next week, so I don't know, you know, but we are all a little creepy, aren't we? Yeah, we are, Finn. But in the novelization, the reason, you know, people say, why would she turn her back on him like that? Well, in the novelization, she turns her back on him because she didn't want to see the horrendous goo from all of the blood, you know, the cyber blood and the heart's blood and the writhing around. She just didn't want to see it, you know, and she knew he was dead because he was cut in half. So, you know, so anyway, but I just like the look on her face there. It's like, okay, I did it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm done. You know, so yeah, she,
well, and I think it's interesting too. You look at, and this to me is just a credit to both Yukito's writing. We see this in the manga plenty of times, but also Robert Rodriguez. You know, you think of all of the superhero and action hero films that have come before Alita was filmed.
Yeah.
And so all of the times that a scene similar to this happened, how does the character respond? How do they act during and after and all that? And okay, now we've got to thread the needle to make something new, something different. Yeah, and so what's interesting, what to me stands out the most about this is, I mean, you see plenty of scenes in Iron Man and Thor and things like that where they do very similar stunts like this.
Yeah.
But they've got their own kind of unique pose of sorts that in many ways is like, and they even call this out in Black Widow in her movie, where it's like, and they make fun of it where it's like, oh, you're always looking like the camera's looking at you.
Yeah.
And so you watch Alita do this, and where is she looking? Well, she's not looking down like Tony Stark is. She's not looking. She is looking straight at Vector, her next target. Her mind has not left the engagement.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, there's no showing off for the camera. There's nothing flashy really about it. It is, in a lot of ways, I'll say it's real.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
That again, yeah, to the topic of the stream that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's kind of like, you know, you mentioned that how they land and all. I remember in Deadpool, you know, when Angel Dust jumped off the top of the helicarrier that was supposed to be in the MCU thing. She jumps off and he's saying superhero landing.
Mm-hmm.
Look out, watch it. You know?
Yep.
And she comes down with that pose, you know.
Yep.
You know, well,
and that's kind of what I was referring to, and I couldn't think of it for that, but yeah, and that is very much not a superhero landing. That is, to me, this is when I would describe this movie to people. In a lot of ways, I would use John Wick as a comparison, because you get situations and scenarios and reactions and setups like this where it's more real. Like there's I'm going to strike a pose for the camera. There's no superhero.
Your audio is breaking up there, just fan.
Oh, darn it.
Or is it, maybe it's on my end. Whoa.
Well, it could be my computer again.
Yeah, this might be on my end. I don't know if you guys can still hear me or not.
I can hear you clearly.
I don't know why. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, my computer just froze for several seconds. I don't know why it does that. It's like there's some transient routine, you know.
Yeah. That's what my computer was doing all day today at work. I had 3 hours worth of stuff I needed to do, and it took me 10 hours to do it.
Yeah, you're breaking up real bad, Just Fan. So
am I breaking up to you, Maxie?
No, not at all.
Oh, it's on my end then for sure. Well, maybe it'll go away here in a little bit.
We've reached our time limit. Karma has.
Your hardware is shutting you down.
Yeah. Okay. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
I hate to keep saying that, but my machine is, you know, fucking up is what it's doing. So anyway, okay, Lee says
well, this one's demonetized.
Yes. So anyway, yes, killing Gorishka, that's a badass moment. But you know, this one right here, when she killed Vector. Now, Vector is no real physical threat to her. You know, I mean, he's a meat boy, you know, and he's, you know,
he's a minion.
You know, she could whip his butt without that Damascus blade and just kind of, you know, do what she wants with him, you know, pretty much physically, you know, she can just beat him up, you know. I do remember thinking about the end of this movie, you know, after I had read the manga. I didn't think about this when I first saw it because I never read the manga, but Alita toward the end of the movie like this, she is more like manga Alita than she is at the beginning. You know, at the beginning's happy-go-lucky little teenager and stuff like that, you know. And, you know, she, you know, evolves into this fighting machine and all that. But here, it's just like that killing people. Okay, I mean, you know, Vector is unarmed. Now, of course, granted, Nova is riding him, but, you know, he's unarmed. That doesn't matter her. And this is, to your point a while ago, Just Fan, this is kind of going to her dark side a little bit.
Yep.
You know, where she kills him. And now she's killing him for a reason, because, you know, she knows that he's a threat to Ito and Hugo, and she's going to remove the threat. But it's it's the matter of fact, I'm going to do this just like I would pick up a pencil, or I would, you know, just kind of like I would walk across the street. And it's just something for me to do, you know. That's kind of the way I interpreted this, you know. And she is very much like manga Alita here, I think.
And it's interesting that the viewer might find it sudden and somewhat despicable that she would just knife a guy through the heart who's unarmed, but there are no laws in that city.
Yeah,
there's just bounties. If somebody's doing something, and the bounties are only applied by the factory if somebody is doing something that reduces factory output.
Yeah.
If they're just killing people who don't have anything to do with the factory doesn't care. They can just do whatever they want. So really, I mean, it's actually, this situation should result in a bounty on Alita's head for killing Vector, who runs a factory.
Yeah.
But
well,
Nova says, I'll let you off this time because he was getting annoying.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you know, though, I think there was enough build-up. I think, and so as somebody who is typically put off by that kind of stuff, I think I can honestly say I think there was enough build-up, and I do think you can see like the emotions and stuff on Alita's face. You can see, there are other examples of film where the characters are that completely dark, cold-blooded, and this I don't think was a case of that. Like you were saying, I don't think it was necessarily as easy. Physically, yes, it was easy as picking up a pencil, but I think psychologically, you could tell there was some hesitation there.
Well, she did have that look on her face too, didn't she? When he mentioned them too.
Yeah, obviously she still did it. But I think there was and I think that was a lot of the goal too. Was, you know, in a lot of ways, you see it a lot in war films where. And obviously hearing real life war stories, but you know, where you have to do these things in order to advance. And even if it's not cut, there is no cut and dry. It's a lot of gray.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a lot what you see here. The part that I have to wonder is, let's just say there wasn't a bounty on Hugo. It was just Zapan going after him to get to Alita.
Yeah.
And there hadn't been Centurions ready to kill her. You know, if they'd been, you know, she shows up, they advance in, and then you hear, like on the intercom, Vector's voice saying, "Stand down, let her through." And things like that. Like, had that build-up been differently, the question I have is, would she have done it?
Well, I do remember
all those pieces of the puzzle.
Well, you know, when I have only read one chapter of Lee's fanfic, and I don't want to spoil, but
okay, I didn't know it existed.
Oh yeah, well, I'll put it in the chat again. We can, you know, so Lee can get some more comments. I sent him a comment on it, but anyway, according to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, on this one, that, you know, we all saw this in the movie, but you know, in Lee's fanfic, this is an unknown. I mean, it's presented in his fanfic as there is a rumor that Alita may have killed Vector. So they don't really know, you know.
Yeah, I had a lot of stories go around because based on some of the stuff that I'd read, there's not really a reliable news service in Island City. So there's a lot of stories going around that, I mean, the damage that she did inside the factory building, probably something somebody's going to notice.
Yeah.
And the fact that she went in there is probably something people are going to maybe take note of. So
yeah.
I had the same thing in my fanfic. It was never announced what happened to Vector, but there was rumors going around that Alita.
Well, so I have to wonder, has it actually been confirmed that Vector is dead and that he was not like healed?
Not within the movie and not within the novelization.
Okay.
So, you know, this is
he was awfully conveniently killed inside of a cyber hospital type setting.
Well, it's a factory that prepares materials to go up to Zalem. It's not like a cyber docks place or anythin. But I mean, it takes 5 or 10 minutes for the brain to completely die. If you whip the head off and put it in on life support, you could turn him into a TR cyborg pretty easily.
Yeah. By the way, sorry guys, my computer gave me the snap. Something went wrong. That's why I kind of dropped off there for a second. So anyway, that's I'm back.
But I mean, the writers slowly built Vector up to be, a self-serving scumbag. He kills, what's the guy's name?
Kanuba.
Oh, Kanuba.
He kills Kanuba in the face,
yeah,
without a second.
Yeah, burns
glance.
a hole through his brain.
Yep.
He says he's going to drop 500,000 credits to have Alita killed. He's not a nice guy.
And that to me is an excellent contrast to Alita here in this scene, in terms of I'll say cold-bloodedness.
Yeah.
But she went in there, looking for blood, and he's hiding. He's like, don't kill me. And then Nova takes him over, and it's stroll around, be a complete prick to this woman with a big nasty fuck off sword, because it's not his body. He doesn't care if it dies.
Yeah.
Complete lack of care of your subordinates.
Well, to just a fan's point too, is that it's not like Alita's like a serial killer killing him here. She's got a reason for doing this. So it's not, you're right, Just Fan, it's not like a cold-blooded thing, because she perceives a threat, to the people she loves, and she's going to eliminate the threat. And it doesn't matter if you're unarmed or not. I'm gonna eliminate the threat, and this is how I'm going to do it.
And to that point, there was no reason for Vector to even step out to Kanuba. All Kanuba knew at that point was that Jackers had ambushed him. He didn't, there was no indication of who they worked for or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so that was, again, just adding to that.
Well, I think Vector wanted to get rid of Kanuba because with that grind cutter, he was,
he wouldn't take a dive,
kind of messing up the odds, and he was losing money on him. And in the novelization, I think Kanuba wins 5 straight matches or something, was 12 or whatever it was. Or he guaranteed him 12. He said, I don't need your guarantee. I've already won 5 in a row. I don't need you, and for Vector.
Did he ever say what the origin of the grind cutters was? Because it's just kind of interesting that they kind of show up out of nowhere, and that, they'd go to the extent, instead of just making another one, they go and cut them off Kanuba.
Yeah, they don't really go into that.
Okay.
No novelization.
In the prequel novel, there was a rogue cyberdoc who was modding people from in the north of Iron City, and it suggested that there was these cyberdocs that were coming in from outside Iron City, and they had unusual techniques and new ideas and stuff.
Interesting.
So my feeling was that wherever that cyberdoc in the prequel novel learnt their stuff, maybe there's an enclave of cyberdocs out in the Badlands somewhere. And every now and again, one of them will come down to Iron City and make some money by modding people. And Kanuba went to see them and get a special weapon crafted for him.
Yeah, because that was one thing that really stood out to me in the film. You see all kinds of weapons and things like that, but the two kind of mythical weapons of sorts are the Damascus blade and the grind cutters. As the Damascus blade has the origin with the but the grind cutters are in many ways more kind of mythological than that, because it's you think, okay, well, it's something they've got. Well, it's not really, because it's another highly coveted item that, for whatever reason, can't be reproduced.
Well, the amount of time that it would take to reproduce it's probably
Sure.
The reason why they went, oh, we'll just take that.
Mm-hmm. Probably those darn chains that manifest out of thin air to be 50 feet long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. If it was easy, everyone would have one.
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody needs one.
Yeah. Yeah. They evidently they do.
I know a few people who deserve a bit of grind cutter loving.
Yeah. Let me put Maxie's Maxie, there's, I think this is yours.
I'll see if he's got it right.
Yeah. That's Maxie's.
Dare I ask, but have you had any more opportunity to work on yours, Maxie?
Not as yet.
All right.
No, he hasn't. No, he
I know
hasn't.
I'm saying that as coming up on what, the 2-year anniversary of the 1 month I said it would take to get 2 topics ready.
Yeah, I'm only up to chapter 24 on my story.
Okay.
And I'm saying no, Maxie hadn't, because he badgered me for a year to read his, and I finally finished it. Now he's so I'm badgering
the ball's
him back.
in my court.
That's that's right. Now it's karma, you see. So,
Yeah, I'm reading through Maxie's fanfic for the 4th time now.
Holy crap! Really?
Yeah. Well, it helps me keep a bit of a focus on my own story as well.
Oh, nice. Well, I've got your story pulled up here. I'm gonna have to do some reading.
Yeah, I like both of y'all's fanfics. That's for sure. I haven't read obviously all of Lee's. I've just read the first chapter, but I like the approach. Of course, I like Maxie's because it's almost like the sequel.
Yeah, it's very much like a good sequel.
Really bad. But Lee's is kind of neat too. It kind of has a twist to it where Alita's not the first person. She's not. It's not told from her viewpoint. At least not the first. The first chapter is told from Jason. What I can't remember his last name now.
Deshane.
Deshane, yeah, Jason Deshane, who's a fictional character. That is in Alita's world, and I'm not going to say how he gets there because that's part of the story. But
well, it is told in the first chapter, I think. So I don't know if it's
Yeah, well, there's definitely some pretty heavy hints in the first chapter of how he gets there for sure. And there's a good description in there of it. But it's like Alita is this person that he's heard of, and she's kind of famous because she's motorballer and of course a hunter warrior and all that. So, and it's almost like, okay, how would an average person see this? I'm gonna just say superhuman, or metahuman,
she is
or
superhuman,
yeah. Call them. Yeah, and this person has heard of her, and what's his view of her and stuff like that. And I haven't gotten far enough into it to get all that, but that's kind of the way I see it so far. So it's pretty neat. So okay, so moving right along here, now going to manga Alita, I guess, or the Imaginos 2.1. This is another badass moment. Because Alita, in this particular one, she's fighting Toji, who happens to be 15 feet tall, which is about just under 5 meters, I think. And that is freaking huge, if we remember, Grishka was just under 3 meters. So Toji is almost twice as tall as Grishka. But now Alita's in this super duper powerful body, and she ends up beating him in her Imaginos 2.1 body. But she's little, she's a little bitty thing. She's 4'11".
Yeah, she's smaller in the manga than she is in the film.
Yeah, and he's 15 feet tall. So, he's 3 times taller than she is. And once she gets that Imaginos 2.1 body, she kicks the crap out of him. And there you see she's in the process of doing it right there. So, she, and to me, anytime you get it, now granted, she's using Panzerkunst and she's using her abilities in the 2.1 body and stuff like that. But think about how someone who's her size taking on someone who's his size
Is that
And
the one where
Deegan-
they're eventually drinking tea together and he hands her a cup?
Well, that
and
was
he's like
that
a
was before their match. They
bathtub?
having like a little tea party, you know, and it's funny. She's holding this big
Little?
ass tea. Yeah, well, it's not a little tea party because her teacup is like huge. She's having to hold it, you know, like with both hands, and her hands are like maybe 2 feet apart or something.
It's like a large punch bowl.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was kind of comical, you know, and it was like he's kind of, they're both kind of like a mutual respect thing, I guess, you know, because he is now Maxie, you might have to correct me on this, or you just fan or Lee, but he's kind of like the master of space karate, isn't he, or something
Yes.
like that? Yeah,
I think so.
I have read that far. I'm like halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah,
But yeah,
He was the leader of the group that was fighting for the space karate group.
fighting against the space
But
angels.
the actual inventor of it was the guy that appeared partway through from another
Yeah.
dimension.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Toji was one of his students who
Yeah,
carried
that's
on
right.
his art.
Yeah, and I think Toji ends up carrying Zeka off into the other dimension with him, something like that. So,
Oh, Toji doesn't. It was the guy who
oh,
showed
it was
up in the other
the
dimension.
guy who showed up. That's right.
Yeah, he also
I
anyway.
can't
takes
remember his
the
name.
Don Flaw was the
Yeah, that's right.
spelling I saw for the wiki, but I don't know if it's
Yes.
pronounced that way, but that's the way it looked like it was spelled.
Well, it's been over a year since I've read that part of the manga, but
Yeah.
yeah. Zeka wanted to keep fighting Zex, you know, and I think Zex was probably going to get the better of him eventually. So, but anyway, he got drug off kicking and screaming, going to the other dimension or something like this.
Mhm.
So, and of course what's the guy, the penis guy's name again now? I can't remember.
Oh, that was actually a conglomeration of nanites from Mercury. And that only appeared, I think, for a couple of fights. And are you talking about the big lanky guy, the tall lanky guy?
Yeah, the guy that.
Oh, I can't remember him. No, he was creepy as hell.
He fought Zazie.
Rakan.
That's right. Yeah. And I guess Zazie kind of rammed one of her guns up his ass or something and blew him up or something like that. I can't remember exactly. So
I wasn't sorry to see him go.
No, I wasn't either. I thought he was a dick, if you'll pardon the expression.
Quite literally.
no, we're already demonetized, so you're good.
Yeah, well, we're not monetized yet anyway. So anyway, Alita's badass here on this one. I mean, certainly in that Maginot's 2.1 body, she is badass. And any fear she might have in this body is just no more than a passing fancy, because she is so OP, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
So
it's at this point in the manga where my head just cannot seem to wrap its head around.
Well, when we get Alita
The
Battle
power
Angel,
level, I'll say that.
when we get Alita 6, when we get that's when we'll see her fight Toji. Probably. So
Yeah, here's hoping.
I'd love to see the Zot. God, I'd love to see that. I mean, to me, that'd be as fun as Motorball, I think. So
Yeah.
Okay, what about now? I don't have everybody she's fought and all that, but here's a couple of names.
I'm not sure I would classify Aga Mbadi as an actual fight that she had.
Well,
I think she had a
bitch
couple of
slapped him.
encounters, and one of them, she basically bitch slapped him in one of the other encounters she had with him.
Yeah,
Didn't actually
Yeah, it wouldn't be
really
a-
fight him, just sort of squashed him.
yeah, that's right. So it wasn't much of a fight, although he did kind of dominate her at the beginning, when he first met her. But I guess she was just kind of letting him do it or something like that.
They were hacking each other with nanites.
Yeah,
I think
that's
she
right.
ended up getting a countermeasure to that, which is why he wasn't able to do it the next time.
Yeah. So so she bitch slapped him. That was good. Karula now, it was a different story.
Yeah, she was
Karula would have killed Alita if she, went until she found out she had the Fata Morgana. So she said, no, okay, no, I'm this, you know, kind of like the Matrix. No, this is the one. I don't want to mess this up, you know. So, you know, although I do believe Alita would have given her a pretty good fight, but Karula, you know, is pretty badass, you know, a vampire and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, she had like the ability to see what her opponents were going to do before they did it or something like that, like read
Something
their
like that,
neural
yeah.
signals or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, I think it was a flow of their chi or something along those lines.
Yeah. Or
And then,
so
of course,
she
Erica.
Mm.
That was a badass fight, but she actually kills Erica in Martian Chronicles, I guess, at one point. And Erica comes back as a necro soldier. So, I'm spoiling it, I guess, but you know, but that is what it is, you know. And Joshigan, of course, that's something I want to see in the sequel. Her and Joshigan going after it, you know, that would be really cool. Now she wouldn't be in her Imaginos body on that; she'd be in her motorball body. So,
Well, I think Alita going up against Cruella is another one of those fights that just elevates Alita to a level that very few other characters have attained.
Yeah.
Because in that regard, she's able to beat Cruella because she basically panics. And again, it shows her human side. So back to what we were talking about at the very beginning, where it's like, well, is she human now that she's an android?
And the answer is yes.
And the answer is yes, because I don't, if she was a true, because she is an android, but she's like a human android. So it's like, she has thoughts about her well-being, whereas we see a great example is like in the Tuned fights when she's going up against the clones, like they don't have any second thoughts. And if that would have been the case, she would have died. But because she was human and had second thoughts,
well, that's a good point, Dan, because she fought AR2 and was almost willing to give up and let AR2 kill her, but she said, "No, I'm not going to do this." So she
against Cruella, that was interesting because I certainly was not expecting that outcome.
Yeah.
So
you know, we've had
one more way to elevate her.
Yeah, and not that this is a characters that she's been up against, but we've had a couple of streams where we pitted her against Thanos and Darkseid. And I guess now, granted, we're all biased. We love Alita and all that stuff, you know, but we tried to look at it as objectively as we could, you know, and we all agreed.
You do a good job.
Yeah. So anyway, but we agreed that, you know, if Alita's in her Imaginos 2.1 body, she's going to beat Darkseid or Thanos, you know, and because of just the power, you know, that she has, you know, being connected to Melchizedek and, you know, having the
she's
power
pretty
of the
much
black
godly
hole.
in the Imaginos body.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, it would take somebody on the Thor kind of level to
Thor, Superman,
or like Odin, or probably Odin level. Odin,
Thanos. Well, what we thought about Thanos was that if he didn't have all the stones, Alita and her Imaginos body, any Imaginos body, is going to kill him within seconds. You know, because he doesn't have the ability to snap her. You know, and she's going to be so fast that he's not going to be able to contain her. You know, and if he has no stones, she'll kill him within a microsecond. I mean, you know, so and now Darkseid, you know, is probably a little different, you know, because he's got more inherent power than Thanos has. Thanos has to have those stones. But Darkseid has that Omega effect inherent in him, and that might be a problem for her, you know. But we did think that she would have a better than 50% chance of killing him if she was in her Imaginos 2.1 body. Oh, we just lost Maxie. So anyway, that's kind of what we thought about those two characters, but they're from different IPs. So, you know.
It was a nice what if.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a nice little discussion we had about that. And we tried to look at it. Yeah, we looked at it as objective as possible and put probabilities on it and all that stuff. So anyway, but that's Alita's other fights. Can you guys think of any other badass moments she had fighting somebody, or just being Alita, being a badass, you know, that in either the manga, the movie, or the anime that I can't remember.
I would say one of her badass moments was breaking free of that. I can't remember, the Ouroboros, I think it was called.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was badass. Yeah,
It's
it
like her
was.
just sheer force of will managed to get free of it.
Yeah. And also, I just thought of something else too. In the anime, she kills Clive Lee of the White Hot Palm by splitting him with, I guess, she got lightning attracted to him somehow. With, I guess.
Yeah, I think she
And
charged
that
up
was
the air or
pretty.
something like that.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah, she was able to
badass.
charge up using the lightning and hitting him at the same time. It was
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, I see. Maxie left a thing and he had to split. He's got a headache. So, yeah, no problem. We're just glad Maxie could make it. So,
Yeah, it was nice to have him on for a bit.
yeah, he sometimes he gets wifed, so he can't do it. So,
Yeah.
It's all good.
Oh, well, I know. I was married twice. So I know what it was like. So anyway, I get it, no problem. So, but any other thing that you guys can think of, a badass moment, Alita.
I think for me, one of the ones that stood out, just because I guess I wasn't necessarily expecting it to unfold that way, is when she finally, because when she gets the Imaginos body, for all the power that it has, it's much like the Berserker. There's no owner's manual. So
Yeah.
it took her quite a while to figure out how it actually worked. And when she figures that out for the first time and the Damascus blades kind of manifest out of her arms.
Yeah.
That's a incredibly pivotal scene, not so much physically as it is psychologically. That's, again, talk about the well-roundedness of Alita's character. There are so many instances where, okay, yes, you can point to the physical fights that are, oh, wow, these moves were incredible, but there is a psychological aspect to just her personal growth as well that's just, wow, how can you aspire to be that? So it really does. It's an all-encompassing personality. It's not just, oh, she's a good fighter. It's
everything that comes
some
with
incredible developmental, both in the manga and the film.
That's right.
Man, it's tough to do that. Not only to write that, but then to execute it so well.
Yeah, because you're right. In the movie, she's for the most part at her basis, at her core. She's a really sweet person. But oh my God, she gets mad at you or something like that.
That's one of the things that I wanna in one of the streams I've got planned on the Call of the Wild one is the themes, the common core themes of just cinematography in general. And the ways that things like speak to people.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things where, like you say, like she's this caring person, but one recurring theme, especially in a lot of anime, but in general, is just this act of love and how that can compel somebody to, one, be this, the obvious, right, the kind, caring individual, but how you can weaponize love to overcome anger and hatred and weaponize it against that to be a more powerful force. And that's a really common theme in anime in general is, how do we take down the big bad guy? Well, love takes them down. How does love take them down? Well, you love your people enough, or your group of people or whatever, family or whatever, enough that you are willing to stand up against the evil.
Yes.
And that's what's interesting.
Yeah.
Is
the whole package of Alita that she can be a sweet person, she can be a badass.
That's to me what makes her so incredible is that you've got the entire package there. It isn't just physical, it's psychological too. The whole
Yes.
the whole aspect is it's just beautiful how well it's done, and that's what makes her so incredible.
Yes. Agreed. Any other thoughts there, Lee? Any other thing about Alita's badassery that you can think of?
Well, nothing really comes to mind. I had pretty much
I'm sure
covered
I'll
it.
read some of it in your fanfic. I'm so sure. So
Maybe, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so anyway, last but certainly not least, this is going to be mostly for Angelus, who I don't know if he's still out there in the chat or not, but it's going to be Uwu. So,
I was wondering if you were going to get to this. I had a sneaky suspicion.
Well, he sent me a DM that said, "Are we going to talk about Alita's Uwu?" And I said, "Well, we can. I mean, that's not really badass right there, but we can do it. Yeah, she's cute. There's no doubt about it. And there's certainly there's a kind of a rendering there from the manga, and then there she is from the movie, and then that's just artwork on the right. I don't recall who did the artwork. I wish folks would when they do their artwork, they'd put their signature on it, know. But that's that artwork from when she's on top of that. I guess she's on that seat on the roof there with Hugo, I guess in the
she's on the roof where like the windmill is.
Yeah, looking at Zalem, and then of course she's looking at him. He said, "What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that?" Well, because she's smitten with you, dumbass. What do you think? So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Hugo's not the brightest person in the world.
No, he's not. Although he does have a high IQ for survival in Iron City.
That is very true. He has the street smarts.
Yeah, he does. So yeah, he's
not,
a little bit
of a
wimp,
so much the people smarts.
No, but he does have street smarts, but he's a wimp. So anyway, that's yeah, you're right, Alejandro. Rose is badass in terms of her portrayal of the character, but here you say she's a badass in that for that series, I guess, Wedding Seasons. So yeah, we'll have to check that out. So
where's that on? Is that on
where I don't know, where is it, Alejandro? Is it on? I don't think it's on Netflix, is it? Might be on Prime. I have to go look.
Yeah, there's just something inherent about somebody who is unassuming, who is unassuming in appearances in terms of whatever skill set they may be trying to display.
Yeah.
There's just something about that just elevates whatever skill it is that gets displayed to an entirely another level.
Okay, so it's on Start Plus. Okay.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I have not either. So I think it is on another streaming service, because I'm gonna go check it out. So, but yeah, the Creek's niece, she's cute. There's no doubt about it. So, so there you have it, there, Angelus. If you're still out there, we got the Uwu thing in for you. Did we miss anything, you guys?
Well, I apparently missed a couple hours of the stream while I was off.
Yeah, well, you missed less than half of it then, because we've been rambling on and on about it, because we get talking about some of these topics with Alita and we can't shut up. So anyway, I know the Creek can't. That's for sure.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
I'm not good at it either.
Yeah. So anyway, well, as you can see, Alita, she does love her Uncle Creek, and that's because he's trying to get her a sequel in the series and anime. So, so there you have it for the Alita army,
Yep.
And of course, this is our queen right here. She is number one in the Creek's book, boy, in terms of being an actor. She is great. She pulled off the Alita thing. She made Robert Rodriguez cry in her audition, I guess. So but she's a superb actor.
I think there's actually an extra, I think it might be from the Blu-ray or something like that, where they actually had that what do you call that, audition, where she did that. I think
I'll have to go look at that because I got several of these Blu-rays. I remember back in the day, Dennis and I were giving away DVDs and Blu-rays like they were candy.
Yeah. Like I said, I remember something about that. I could be mistaken, but
yeah,
might be
I
kind of.
think I remember seeing her. I didn't see her Rodriguez's reaction, but I did see part of her audition. And it was quite good. I mean, I can see why I picked her. And I would also say this: it sure don't hurt that she's pretty. Because she is very pretty. So. And there are several shots in the movie where you can tell it's Rosa.
Mhm.
I mean, I can. Yeah, that's Rosa. I mean, because normally, they got the mocap stuff is.
Yeah, I think I think the scenes that are especially telling in the movie are any of them where the camera isn't looking straight at Alita.
Yeah.
But even then, looking straight at, I mean, you see. If you did a side-by-side comparison, I mean, it really is amazing what they were able to do.
Aspects of her physical features in Alita's face.
Well, when she was on that table at the beginning of the movie, when Ito was putting her in the doll bodies, and you had that shot above them, that right there looks so much like Rosie. Now, of course, that particular shot, she didn't have any hair, but yeah, that really looked like Rosa to me, And then there's another shot where I guess her and Hugo are skating, when they were doing the street motorball thing, and she kind of turns and looks at him from the side, kind of like you were saying, Just Fan. You look at her from the side, and you can see, that's Rosa, So, yeah, Rosa's a very pretty lady. There's no doubt about it, and a great actor. And also, just a shout out to to our other girl, Elle Lamont. I don't have her on here, but she's. She played Screwhead, I think Rosa and her are both my celebrity crushes. So there you have it. So anyway, Okay, guys, I guess Maxie's gotten off, so I'll have to, talk about this in his stead here. But tomorrow we're going to be talking about how powerful the Damascus blade is as a plasma weapon, so we'll probably even get into the plasma weapon itself a little bit, because the Damascus blade, it can generate plasma, but so can she, because she doesn't need the Damascus blade to have that plasma.
The Damascus blade is just a way to channel the plasma.
The plasma generators are inside her body. I think in the arms, or at least the vents.
It's in the hand. It's in like the hand, the forearm. It's just electricity manifesting itself.
Yeah. Well, it's an arc plasma where it draws air in and ionizes it.
That's right. The intakes are in the
right. It's basically a glorified
arc welder.
Arc welder.
Yeah. There you go.
There's actually a really good video that shows how you can get a plasma arc. It's a special circuit that you have to run using like a Tesla coil. But it basically generates a plasma, like I'll call it a single pole electric arc. But basically it's like the best visual I can give is the scenes in the manga where you see Alita's got like the plasma claws.
Yeah.
It's basically that. Of course, you don't have a nuclear power plant hooked up to it. You've got a 9-volt battery, but if you scaled it up.
Well, with her antimatter microreactor, that's going to trigger. That's going to power that thing pretty well, I think.
It's going to put some oomph behind it.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Gotta love.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your thought there, Just Fan.
No, you gotta love a nice little portable power plant you can hold in your hand. That's everybody's Christmas wish right there, I think.
Yeah, especially if it has enough power to power Iron City for years. Yeah, that's right. And just looking at Iron City, and some of those wide shots, when that Hugo's truck is driving away, that's a fairly large city, and it's probably not the size of New York City, but it's probably big.
Well, it sprawls out more to a wider area than Zalem, and Zalem is already pretty big around. So
Zalem's 5 miles. Yeah, Solemn's 5 miles wide. So I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, and it goes way beyond that. So yeah, you're
Does
right.
it?
So yeah,
Where do they? I was just curious where they showed that. I've been curious trying to find that.
I believe I saw that in or read or heard that on the audio book of the
Okay.
not
I will
the
have to
stage.
look into that.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely sure about that, but I think
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
I'll have to look in. I've been looking for that. We were
Yeah.
talking about the sword. You can actually see in this picture right here. If you look there to the left,
The
it's a
circuitry.
it's a circuit board.
Yep.
So that's how
Oh
the
yeah, that's
that's how
right.
the
Yeah,
plasma is going down the blade. Is it's just a circuit board as a place for the electricity to go.
yeah. Well, it helps channel it, I guess. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
But no, it's
All
pretty
right,
wicked.
guys. So join
That'll
us for
be a
this.
good topic.
Oh, it will be. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. So anyway, join us tomorrow from Radio Chaos. It happens roughly 24 hours after this, 23 hours, I think, after this stream. So, of course, the length of this stream today, it's probably going to be like 21 hours or something
Yeah.
after the stream finishes. But it's going to be, it's going to be at 3. Yeah, it's going to be like 5 p.m. Eastern, I think, something like that. So,
Oh well.
okay. Why is
Already
this
some
image
fun.
here? Oh, yeah, that's right. So why is this image here? Well, that image is here because the Creek likes it, and the Creek's running the stream. And to paraphrase Gerwishka, I am only here for our girl and the Alita Army. And of course, all of us are here for our girl. So anyway, because we want that sequel, damn it, Disney. The sequel, I know the Creek wants a series. The Creek wants anime. The Creek wants merch. Of course, we got some pretty good merch. I want it all, man. I don't, come on, Disney. Just do it, I think after Avatar.
Did you see the re-release of Avatar?
No, I have not. I think it is still playing here in Denver. I'm not sure.
So what I thought was interesting about that was the sign-on where they do like the logos.
Okay.
Disney was not one of the logos presented.
Huh.
So I thought,
is it a 20th Century Studios film?
Yeah, it was 20th Century Studios, which I knew, but I was kind of surprised. No, I mean, obviously it makes sense when the film was originally released, but that was before it was a whole thing at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, because now
and I was surprised that since it was a park at Animal Kingdom and all the rides that they've built since then for it.
Yeah.
I was surprised that Disney was nowhere mentioned. So that to me gives me hope for Alita, that Disney is making films or releasing films that, yes, they're owned by Disney, but they're not affiliated. They've not affiliated themselves directly with it.
So maybe they're giving 21st Century Studios some autonomy on it?
Yeah, that's
well, hopefully,
what I'm getting at.
Hopefully it'll be a little bit more like it was in the 90s when they had Touchstone Pictures. I know I've had Mike Reyes on a couple of times, and we've talked about that, where Touchstone Pictures, they would shoot those movies because they felt like, and they would let Touchstone, kind of distribute them, produce them, and all that stuff, because they felt like that. Well, they thought it wouldn't hurt their brand, is what they thought, so they let Touchstone do it. So, so
I'm curious to see what they do, and I'm curious to see how Deadpool 3 is going to go, because that is carrying an R rating, and they do have Wolverine involved. So that's going to be, again, another one to keep the eye on in terms of what does that mean for an Alita sequel. So we'll do our best to push Avatar to 3 billion and
that's right.
Get that sequel.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right, mandatory carry. You're right. So anyway, I guess we've kind of beat that thing to death. So I guess the last order of business here is to do the old call to action. And that would be on my count of 3, and that would be 1, 2, 3.
Film those
Film
sequels,
those
baby.
sequels, baby. All right, we'll see you next week on the Alita Livestream. We'll see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos. So
Take care,
good night
guys.
and good day. Bye.
See you later.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita Livestream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.